Chapter 564. Hearing that it was actually a girl's voice, the eyes of many in the auction hall lit up. They were all guessing in their hearts. Which great family's precious daughter was this person who dared to oppose the Harito family? Which great family did she belong to? There were even some who thought they were good-looking and fantasized in their hearts that if they were chosen by this young lady, they would be able to enjoy endless riches and glory in the future. Although I can't see the person, just from this pleasant voice, I can guess that the young lady who spoke must be very beautiful. It would be great if I could see her face. This voice is so pleasant to the ears. It would be great if I could see what she looks like. In the auction hall, many people were discussing in low voices. Each and every one of them looked expectantly at the private room where the voice came from. Looking at their faces full of hope and desire, it was as if they couldn't see through the walls of the private room and see what was going on inside. Inside the Harito family's private room, Kazuler and Insky didn't let go of the Class 5 monster core just because the person bidding against them was a girl. Kazuler spoke again. "May I ask which family you are from?" "Young lady, we're only from a small mercenary group. We're not worth mentioning." This time, the person who spoke was a young man. His tone was very calm. However, this indifferent tone made Kazuler's expression turn even uglier. In his opinion, although Luo Yunyang's words weren't disrespectful, his indifferent tone showed his disdain for the Herodor family. It was as if he didn't think much of the Herodor family. Insky's face was also full of anger as he said in a deep voice, "In the Blue Wind Kingdom, there aren't many people who can make our Harito family afraid. Even the top forces have to give us some face when facing us. These juniors not only made things difficult for our Harito family, they also didn't put us in their eyes. This is simply unforgivable. After the auction is over, no matter who they are, we must teach them a lesson and teach them a lesson." Kazuler also sneered. "That's right, we can't let them off so easily. Judging from their voices, they don't seem very old. I'm afraid they're just a bunch of kids who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth and haven't seen much of the world. They still don't know the name of the Herodor clan." "You're right, but the Harlador family doesn't lack money. I like to see just how much money they have. 210,000 purple coins." Insky raised the price by another 10,000 purple coins. 220,000 purple coins. The person in the opposite private room shouted out another bid. The entire auction venue had fallen completely silent. Only the voices of bids could be heard coming from the two private rooms. Even Urian was rooted to the spot in a daze from the immense joy she was feeling. 200,000 purple gold coins was much higher than before. 230,000 purple coins. Insky clenched his teeth as he called out the price. His expression had already turned extremely gloomy. 250,000 purple coins. The person in the opposite private room didn't feel the slightest bit of pressure. He also didn't hesitate to bid. This time, he raised the price by 20,000 yuan. These bastards, just how much money do they have? Insky slammed the table in front of him into smithereens. 250,000 purple coins. This already exceeded the value of a rank 5 monster core. Kazuler's expression was also frosty. He hesitated for a long time before calling out the price again. 260,000 purple coins. 300,000 purple coins. Just as Kazuler finished his bid, the other party raised the price by a full 40,000 purple coins. That rich and overbearing attitude showed that he didn't care about money at all. Both Kazuler and Insky clenched their fists tightly. A strong killing intent was faintly emitted from their bodies. Many people in the auction hall could sense it. Everyone knew that the mysterious VIP who had been bidding with the Harlador family had already offended them. In the private room that had been bidding with the Harlador family, Jianshun, Ming Dong, Yu Yu, and Tai Ta were leisurely eating fruits on the table. The person who had been bidding with the Harlador family was none other than Jianshun. Feeling the killing intent emitted from the Harlador family, Jianshun's face revealed a trace of disdain as he sneered. "People of the Harlador family, this is a fair competition. How can there be killing intent? If you don't have the money to bid with us, then you'd better leave obediently." Jianshun's words angered Kazuler and Insky so much that their bodies trembled. If it weren't for the fact that they were in a public place, the two of them would have already charged over and chopped the person who had been opposing them into pieces. This time, the Harlador family didn't continue bidding. Although the Harlador family was very wealthy, they still felt that it wasn't worth it to spend 300,000 purple coins on a single Class 5 monster core. The auction hall was silent for a long time before Urian's voice rang out. The mysterious VIP in private room number 8 has bid 300,000 purple coins. 300,000 purple coins. Is there anyone who wants to go higher? 300,000 purple coins going once. Urian's tone was very agitated, and she was practically shouting. This price had far exceeded her expectations. 300,000 purple coins going twice. 300,000 purple coins going thrice. Sold. I now announce that the first Class 5 monster core has been won by the mysterious VIP in private room number 8. As Urian's gavel fell, the first Class 5 monster core was finally bought for the high price of 300,000 purple coins. Inside private room number 8, Tower stared at Jianshun with a puzzled expression. Jianshun, you spent so much money to buy a Class 5 monster core. Is it worth it? Jianshun smiled faintly. 300,000 purple coins may sound like a lot, but it's nothing to me. Moreover, this money is just floating around and will eventually return to us. It's just a drop in the bucket after deducting the handling fee. Jianshun, I believe that you wouldn't do something so senseless. Do you have some sort of deep grudge with these people, where you specially use a Class 5 monster core to lure them over? Ming Dong asked out of curiosity. Jianshun's words brought back memories of the past. His gaze gradually sharpened as he growled. That's right. I do have a debt to settle with them. 2 years ago, when I auctioned off the corpses of 2 Class 5 magical beasts, I was chased all over the city by quite a few clans. At that time, I was only a Saint Master, but I was chased by several dozen people who were stronger than me. Although I used everything I had to escape in the end, an Earth Saint Master from the Harito clan caught up to me and threw me off a cliff. I barely made it out alive. An intense killing intent flashed through Ming Dong's eyes when he heard that. He bitterly said, "So that's how it is. How can we not take revenge for such a great grudge? Brother, we'll definitely make them pay a heavy price this time." Princess Yu silently sat beside Jianshun without saying anything. She stared deeply at Jianshun, but she was not as calm as she seemed on the surface. From Jianshun's words, she had already formed a realistic picture in her mind. Only now did she understand that Jianshun had once been in this city, and that such a shocking matter had happened. A Saint Master being chased by several dozen people who were stronger than him was terrifying just thinking about it. I have never forgotten about the Harlador clan's yin, Kazalar, Jianshun said with a cold gaze. His calm voice had a cold, killing intent. After the first level 5 monster core was auctioned off, the auction house took a short break before continuing with the second level 5 monster core. Now we are officially auctioning off the second level 5 monster core. The starting price is 50,000 purple gold coins, and each increment must not be lower than 1,000 purple gold coins. This is the last level 5 monster core. Those who are in urgent need of it, you must cherish this one and only chance to obtain a level 5 monster core so easily. Urian loudly announced with a smile on her face. At the same time, she was filled with anticipation. Who knew how much this second level 5 monster core would fetch? As soon as Urian's voice trailed off, someone immediately made a bid. 60,000 purple gold coins. 70,000 purple gold coins, 75,000 purple gold coins. One bid after another rang out from the various VIP booths. This time, without the Harito family's interference, the competition was undoubtedly much more intense than the first auction for the Grade 5 Monster Core. Very quickly, the price had risen to a high price of 100,000 purple gold coins. The Yulan clan bids 110,000 purple gold coins. The Flowing Cloud Soar Pavilion bids 115,000 purple gold coins. The Huatian sect bids 120,000 purple gold coins. The Muda clan bids 125,000 purple gold coins. The Caldel clan bids 130,000 purple gold coins. 140,000 purple gold coins. 145,000 purple coins. Under the intense bidding, the price quickly rose to 150,000 purple gold coins. At this time, the bidding gradually slowed down. The Inferno clan of the Sky Dragon City bids 180,000 purple gold coins. We, the Inferno clan, need this level 5 monster core very much. Please do us a favor. The Phone clan of the Huaxin City bids 190,000 purple gold coins. We, the Phone clan, need this level 5 monster core very much too. Please do us a favor. The entire auction house became much quieter. The Inferno clan of the Sky Dragon City and the Phone clan of the Huaxin City were both large clans of first-rate cities. Their strength was not to be underestimated. This made third-rate forces like the Flowing Cloud Sword Pavilion and the Yulan clan not dare to compete with them. The three great clans of the Phoenix Sun City and the City Lord's residence are prepared to join forces to bid for this level 5 monster core. We bid 200,000 purple gold coins. The local forces of the Phoenix Sun City also joined in, with the three great clans and the City Lord's residence joining forces. They were indeed not afraid of the large clans of the first-rate cities. A level 5 monster core was simply too precious. Even in a first-rate city, one would only appear once every 2 to 3 years. Every time it appeared, it would incite a fierce battle. Therefore, for the 2 level 5 monster cores of the Phoenix Sun City, anyone who had the ability to obtain them would not easily miss out. The Guiyun clan bids 210,000 purple gold coins. The Condor Mercenary Group bids 220,000 purple gold coins. The Shinwu clan bids 230,000 purple gold coins. Chapter 565. For the first monster core of the Fifth Order, it could be said that everyone was giving face to the Harlador clan and did not participate in the fight for it. This was because they knew that the Harlador clan would become one of the top forces in the Blue Wind Kingdom in the near future. Unless they had no other choice, no one was willing to take the initiative to provoke the Harlador clan. Therefore, only 2 parties were competing for the first monster core of the Fifth Order. And this second rank 5 monster core was the last one in this auction, so it was absolutely not to be missed. Therefore, the bidding for it was very intense. 240,000 purple coins, 250,000 purple coins. The bidding was still going on, but with the price reaching such a high level, very few people were willing to bid. 250,000 purple coins had already exceeded the expectations of many people. Unless they really needed this 5th-step monster core, no one would be willing to pay such a high price for it. 260,000 purple gold. After a short while, someone finally bid again, but this time, it was the Harito clan. The Harito clan did not bid for the first-class monster core, so they did not break the contract by participating in the bidding for the second-class monster core. The Shinwu clan bids 270,000 purple gold. The Raging Inferno clan bids 280,000 purple gold. The Phone clan bids 290,000 purple gold. The Guiyun clan bids 300,000 purple gold. The Harlador clan's bid was quickly overtaken. Now, the price of the second rank 5 monster core had already reached 300,000 purple gold coins. Very few people could accept such an expensive price, and the local powers of Phoenix City no longer had the ability to continue competing. This price had far exceeded their expectations. In the VIP room where the 3 great clans of Fengyang City were resting, the city lord shook his head with a sigh and said, "Looks like we are not fated to obtain this rank 5 monster core. The wealth of these great clans and sect from first-class cities is not something we can compare to. What a pity. It's rare for a rank 5 monster core to appear in our Phoenix City, but we simply have no fate with it. This damned Heavenly Phoenix auction house, it's all their fault for spreading the news of the rank 5 monster cores. That's why so many great powers have come. Otherwise, these 2 rank 5 monster cores would have definitely been obtained by us." A middle-aged man said in a deep voice, his face filled with regret. The Phone clan bids 310,000 purple gold. The Condor Mercenary Group bids 320,000 purple coins. The Phone clan bids 325,000 purple coins. The Condor mercenary group bids 330,000 purple coins. After more than 300,000 purple gold coins, very few people participated in the auction. Until now, only the Phone clan and the Condor mercenary group were still fiercely competing. Following that, the Phone clan and the Condor mercenary group competed with each other for a few more rounds, pushing the price to a high price of 350,000 purple gold coins. After reaching the high price of 350,000 purple gold coins, the Phone clan didn't bid anymore. Once the competition between the two sides stopped, the lively auction hall also became strangely quiet. The silence lasted for a while. Seeing that no one else was willing to bid, Urian shouted, "The Condor mercenary group offers 350,000 purple coins. Is there anyone who wants to go higher?" 350,000 purple coins going once. 350,000 purple coins going twice. 350,000 purple coins going 3 times. The wooden gavel in Urian's hand fell heavily as she said, "I now announce that the second monster core of the 5th step has been purchased by the Condor mercenary group in VIP room number 15 for 350,000 purple gold coins." Inside VIP room number 8, Ming Dong looked at Jianshun with a puzzled expression and said, "Brother, did you just sell the second monster core of the 5th step just like that?" Jianshun muttered, "According to my original plan, these 2 monster cores of the 5th step shouldn't have been sold. However, I changed my mind at the last moment. Since the second monster core was won by a mercenary group, then let them have it. Perhaps we will meet with the Condor mercenary group very soon. For now, it's best not to make our relationship too stiff." That's right. Since we want these mercenary groups to submit, it's best not to accumulate grievances with them. Otherwise, when the time comes to make them submit, it will be very difficult. Princess Yu also agreed. Jianshun stood up from his chair and said, "Now that the auction is over, we should leave this place. I'm afraid there will be a good show in a while." This time, the Heavenly Phoenix auction house had mainly auctioned off 2 monster cores of the 5th step. Now that the auction was over, the auction had officially come to an end. The people sitting in the VIP rooms all stood up and left the Heavenly Phoenix auction house through the VIP passageway. Jianshun's group of 4 arrived at the backstage of the Heavenly Phoenix auction house. This was a place that specialized in handling the transaction of goods. Some of the more valuable transactions were carried out here. This time, the Heavenly Phoenix auction house's supervisor, Urian, personally sat on the stage and handled the transaction for the 2 parties that had won the monster cores of the 5th step. Jianshun's group arrived at the counter and personally handed over the VIP room number and a purple gold card to Urian. Urian took the VIP room number from Jianshun and looked at it. When she discovered that the VIP room number that Jianshun handed over was the number 8 room that had always been at odds with the Harito clan, she couldn't help but look surprised. She then carefully sized up Jianshun's group and became more and more surprised. She didn't expect that the mysterious VIP who had always been at odds with the Harito clan was actually these 4 young men in front of her. They didn't even have a single elder. This was worlds apart from what she had imagined. "Young master and young miss, you are really bold. You actually bid a high price of 300,000 for a monster core of the 5th step. How should I address you, young master and young miss?" Urian asked with a smile on her face. Her attitude was very enthusiastic as she tried to find out more about their backgrounds from their names. Jianshun replied with a smile, "Supervisor Urian, please hurry up and handle the transaction for us." Seeing that the other party wasn't willing to reveal their names, Urian didn't continue to harp on this topic, lest she incurred the other party's displeasure. She smiled and said, "All right, this young lady will handle the transaction for you now." At this time, a few middle-aged men in tight robes walked over and sized up Jianshun's group from afar. The burly middle-aged man walking at the front smiled and said, "These young masters and young misses must be the ones who have been bidding with the Harito clan in VIP room number 8. I am the leader of the Condor mercenary band, Eagle Zhangkong. Greetings." Jianshun turned around and saw that the leader of the Condor mercenary band was a middle-aged man in his 50s. He was dressed in tight black robes and had a burly build. He was at least 2 meters tall, a head taller than Jianshun. On the left side of his face, there was a hideous wound that destroyed the entire left side of his face, making him look even more ferocious. The leader of the Condor mercenary band, Eagle Zhongkong, was also curious about Jinshan's group. Young masters and young misses, may I know which noble clan you are from in the Blue Wind Kingdom? Perhaps I, Eagle Zhongkong, have some relations with your elders. All right, I heard that you are from some mercenary band. Is that true? Jinshan smiled and said, regarding this question, please allow me to keep it a secret for now. Eagle Zhongkong, we will meet again very soon. As they spoke, Yurian finished the procedures for Jinshan and handed over the box containing the Class 5 Monster Core and the purple gold card to Jinshan. Jinshan put away the purple gold card and the Class 5 Monster Core and prepared to leave with Ming Dong and the others. The leader of the Condor mercenary band, Eagle Zhongkong, stood there pondering over Jinshan's words. Outside the Heavenly Phoenix auction house, an endless stream of people walked out of the auction house. Outside the VIP passageway, two old men from the Harito family, Karazer and Insky, stood there with cold expressions on their faces as they waited for the person in VIP room 8 to come out. Around them, many people from various major forces had gathered, ready to watch the show. They all wanted to see who exactly was the person who had been opposing the Harito family. At this time, Dugu Feng, dressed in a red robe, returned from outside the city and swaggered towards the Heavenly Phoenix auction house. Now that the auction was over, the mission Jinshan had given him had been completed. There was no need for him to hide anymore. Look, he's the one who brought the 2 Class 5 Monster Cores to the Heavenly Phoenix auction house. Just as Dugu Feng approached the Heavenly Phoenix auction house, he was immediately discovered by the people who had been tailing him a few days ago. They all reported this to their respective masters. At this time, the various powers that were originally focused on the VIP passageway turned their gazes towards the red-robed Dugu Feng. Wu Yun. He's definitely Wu Yun. Wu Yun knows how to change his appearance. Don't think that you can hide from us just because you changed your appearance. A middle-aged man from the Yulan family stared coldly at Dugu Feng and said in a deep voice, his eyes burning with hatred. The pavilion master of the Flowing Cloud Sword Pavilion also looked at Dugu Feng and said, Zhou Tong, is he Wu Yun? Vice Pavilion Master Zhou Tong stared at Dugu Feng for a while and said, he doesn't look like he did 2 years ago. However, Wu Yun knows how to change his appearance. His ability to change his appearance is flawless. It's impossible to tell. I think this person is most likely Wu Yun. He just changed his appearance again. Other than him, who else can take out 2 Class 5 Monster Cores? Facing so many people, this Wu Yun is still so calm and composed. I think that he most likely has something to rely on. Let's just watch the show. There's no need for us to interfere. The Pavilion Master of the Flowing Cloud Sword Pavilion said. Chapter 566. Kazler leapt out from the crowd. While he was in the air, he swung the hammer in his hand forward. A surge of water attributed Saint Force was emitted from the hammer, leaving behind a dazzling blue light in the air as it shot towards Dugu Feng like a bolt of lightning. Dugu Feng's advancing footsteps came to an abrupt halt. He expressionlessly looked straight ahead, not even sparing a glance at Kazler. Immediately, the fiery red robe on his body began to flutter even though there was no wind, and his long hair fluttered wildly. Suddenly, a raging flame surged out from his body, enveloping his entire body. A terrifyingly high temperature spread out, causing the surrounding temperature to rapidly rise. Bathed in the fierce flames, Dugu Feng seemed to have turned into a god of fire. He then tightly clenched his right fist as all the flames around him gathered in his right hand. He then punched out and a basketball-sized fireball shot out from his fist like a bolt of lightning. Boom! The two energies of completely opposite attributes collided in the air, creating a violent explosion that caused the surrounding buildings to violently tremble. The violent ripples of energy wreaked havoc, forming a powerful shockwave that spread in all directions, causing the surrounding crowd to uncontrollably retreat. Earth Saint Master. He's actually an Earth Saint Master. This Wu Yun is actually so powerful. No wonder he was able to kill dozens of great Saint Master experts in Fengyang City 2 years ago. Such a glorious result. I'm afraid that only Earth Saint Masters can achieve such a feat. No wonder we were always shaken off after following him for so many days. So his strength has already reached the realm of Earth Saint Master. Heavens, I actually followed an Earth Saint Master. Fortunately, he didn't attack us. Otherwise, I'm afraid that we wouldn't be standing here unscathed. The surrounding people all let out cries of surprise. Their gazes toward Dugufeng had completely changed. An Earth Saint Master was already considered a peak expert in Fengyang City. It was enough to attract the attention of everyone. If the external forces were to be disregarded, there were only 4 such experts in the entire Fengyang City, and every single one of them was a person of high status and authority. As Wu Yun's strength was revealed, a few of the people who had ulterior motives dismissed their unrealistic thoughts. An Earth Saint Master was not an existence that a regular organization could offend. Kazaler landed firmly on the ground. He sternly stared at Dugufeng and said in a heavy voice, "Wu Yun, I never thought that in just over 2 years, your strength would undergo such a drastic change. You've actually reached the level of an Earth Saint Master. It really is a blessing after surviving a disaster." Dugufeng slowly placed his hands behind his back as he expressionlessly stared at Kazaler. His gaze carried a trace of disdain and ridicule. Although he was unfamiliar with the name Wu Yun, he was not a stupid person. Thinking back to the strange actions of Jinshin, he had already guessed who this Wu Yun was. Seeing that Wu Yun did not speak, Kazaler continued, "Wu Yun, although you have reached the level of an Earth Saint Master, you are still not a threat to our Harito clan. I, Kazaler, still have the same thoughts as 2 years ago. If you are willing to give the battle skill to our Harito clan, we will definitely not treat you unfairly. You need to understand that the old patriarch of the Harito clan is currently in existence at the peak of the 6th cycle of Earth Saint Master. He is only a step away from becoming a Heaven Saint Master. Furthermore, the old patriarch is confident that he can break through within 20 years. In the future, our Harito clan will definitely become one of the most powerful clans in the Blue Wind Kingdom." Kazaler's words surprised the people from the various large organizations. They all knew just how difficult it was to break through from Earth Saint Master to Heaven Saint Master. However, the old patriarch of the Harito clan was actually confident that he could break through to become a Heaven Saint Master within 20 years. This news was no different from a heavy bomb to everyone. Currently, the Blue Wind Kingdom had just gone through a great battle. Several of their Heaven Saint Masters had died, leaving only a pitiful 4. At this time, if the Harito clan could gain another Heaven Saint Master, their status in the Blue Wind Kingdom would instantly rise to the peak. A disdainful sneer appeared on Dugufeng's face as he said, "I know quite a few battle skills. I wonder which one you want." Hearing this, Kazaler was stunned for a moment, but soon after, an ecstatic expression appeared on his face as he said, "Then take out your strongest battle skill. Don't worry, my Harito family will definitely not treat you unfairly." Dugufeng looked at Kazaler with ridicule and said, "The strongest battle skills I know are 2 Heaven-tier battle skills. Do you want them?" "What? You know a Heaven-tier battle skill?" Kazaler's face paled as he stared at Dugufeng in disbelief. His heart was in turmoil. Heaven-tier battle skills were extremely rare on the Tianyuan continent. They were usually only possessed by peak clans with powerful backgrounds. However, in the Blue Wind Kingdom, not a single Heaven-tier battle skill had been passed down. Dugufeng's words not only shocked Kazaler. Even the surrounding people who had come to watch the show changed their expressions at Dugufeng's words. He actually knows a Heaven-tier battle skill. Heavens, this can't be true, right? In the surrounding kingdoms, aside from the kingdom of Jessen's Chanyang Prefecture, I haven't heard of anyone else who knows a Heaven-tier battle skill. Tui, even Heaven Saint Masters rarely know a Heaven-tier battle skill. With his strength as an Earth Saint Master, how can he know a Heaven-tier battle skill? This can't be trusted. Yeah, it's most likely a lie. The surrounding people discussed spiritedly, but many of them didn't believe that Dugufeng really knew a Heaven-tier battle skill. Kazaler also didn't believe that this young man in front of him, who was only in his 20s, really knew a Heaven-tier battle skill. He mocked, "Since you know a Heaven-tier battle skill, Why don't you use it now and let us all see it? Yeah, use the Heaven Tier battle skill and let us see it. Let us all broaden our horizons. We've never seen a Heaven Tier battle skill in our lives. As soon as Kazler finished speaking, many people in the surrounding immediately chimed in. However, all of them looked at Dugufeng with more or less ridicule. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, Dugufeng sneered. At this moment, his eyes suddenly narrowed as he looked behind Kazler. He saw Jianshun, Mingdong, Tai Ta, and Yu slowly walking out from the VIP passageway. Jianshun pushed aside the people in front of him and walked out. He smiled faintly and said, I never thought that there would be a good show right after the auction ended. Looks like today isn't going to be a peaceful day. Interesting things are happening one after another. Although Jianshun's tone was calm, many people heard him clearly. Immediately, many people shifted their gazes to the four of them. Kazler also turned around to look at Jianshun. However, when he saw Jianshun's handsome face that was filled with yang qi, his eyes suddenly narrowed. His mind quickly recalled Wu Yun from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, although Jianshun had deceived many people in Phoenix City with his appearance-changing technique, in the end, when he escaped from the underground well of Phoenix City, his appearance-changing technique had already been washed away by the cold underground water. Therefore, the appearance that Kazler saw after that was no longer his appearance-changing technique, but his real face. Kazler stared at Jianshun's familiar face and said word by word, So you are the real Wu Yun. Kazler's words caused many people to be startled. Soon after, they turned to look at Jianshun in astonishment. None of them had expected that after such a long commotion, they had all recognized the wrong person. Jianshun walked out from the crowd with large strides and sneered. Flame, Kazler, I didn't expect you to still remember me. This is really unexpected. That's right. I'm the Wu Yun that you threw off the cliff 2 years ago. Jianshun had personally admitted to his fake identity. This caused everyone to accept that they had indeed recognized the wrong person. The person who sold the 2 Type 5 monster cores was not the Wu Yun from 2 years ago. Over 10 burly men quickly surrounded Jianshun's group. One of them, a middle-aged man, growled, Wu Yun, you've killed so many experts in my Yulan family. My Yulan family will not spare you. Today, you definitely won't be able to walk out of Phoenix City alive. In the camp of the Heiming family, a middle-aged man whispered to the patriarch of the Heiming family, Patriarch, these are the people who injured the young master a few days ago. Hearing this, the patriarch of the Heiming family's eyes flashed as he said, I didn't expect that the ones who injured my son would be Wu Yun's group. Wu Yun had killed so many experts in my Heiming family 2 years ago. Today we will settle the old and new grudges together. After saying that, the patriarch of the Heiming family waved his hand and brought over 20 experts to surround Jianshun and the rest. Kazler carefully sized up Jianshun and the rest. However, he could only see the strength of Tai Ta and Yu. As for Mingdong and Jianshun, they had concealed their auras, so Kazler could not see their strength. However, Kazler did not place the 2 of them in his eyes. After all, the 2 of them were too young. No matter how powerful they were definitely not his match. Kazler sneered. Wu Yun, you really came out at the right time. I almost mistook you for someone else. Kazler then turned his head to look at the cold-faced Dugufeng. After a slight hesitation, he cupped his hands and said, Brother, I mistook you for someone else. Please forgive me if I have offended you. If you have time in the future, you are welcome to visit our Harito family. If it was really Wu Yun from 2 years ago, Kazler might have killed him without caring about the consequences. This was because he had thrown Wu Yun off a cliff 2 years ago. The enmity between the 2 of them was so deep that it could not be resolved. Now that he had recognized the wrong person, Kazler would not continue to make things difficult for an Earth Saint Master. This was because an expert like that was enough to attract the attention of the Harito family. Dugufeng stood there expressionlessly without saying anything. Kazler did not continue to waste time with Dugufeng. He turned his head to Jianshun and said, Everyone Kazler, also have some enmity to settle with Wu Yun. Can you hand him over to the Harito family? Chapter 567. As soon as he heard that Jianxun and the others were the ones who had been competing with him for the first-class 5-monster core in VIP Room 8, Kalazar's expression darkened even more. He gritted his teeth and said, "So it's you guys who have always been at odds with my Harlador clan. Humph. Then there's even less reason for me to spare you." After saying that, Karazar cupped his hands towards the Black Underworld family members and said, "Gentlemen, we must take this person who has always been at odds with our Harito family. Please hand him over to us. But don't worry, our Harito family will definitely avenge you." A middle-aged man wearing a luxurious white robe with an extraordinary bearing walked out from the crowd and said with a faint smile, "Karazar, this one has some doubts, and I hope the two of you can answer it for us. I wonder what kind of grudge there is between your Harito clan and this little friend of ours for you guys to insist on fighting to the death. If it's just the incident at the auction, perhaps it's not enough for your Harito clan to hate someone so much." Towards this middle-aged man, Ensky and Karazar did not dare to offend him, because he was the Phone clan's patriarch. At the same time, he was also one of the major powers of the Blue Wind Kingdom, not much weaker than the Harito clan. Ensky looked at Kazalar. He was the only one who could answer this question. Karazar hesitated for a moment, then cupped his hands and said, "Phone clan's patriarch, this matter involves a grudge from many years ago, and some of it even involves the interests of my Harito clan. Please forgive me for not being able to tell you. What is it that's inconvenient to tell you?" Karazar, Ing Kong, am also very curious. Just what did these little brothers do to offend you in the past, for you to actually want to kill them like this? A deep voice came from behind, and a few middle-aged men of the Condor mercenary group walked out from the VIP passage. The one who spoke was the leader of the Condor mercenary group, Ing Kong. Karazar's face sank slightly, but he did not say anything. The Feng family patriarch looked at Dugu Feng and smiled. "Previously, all of us mistook this brother for Wu Yun from 2 years ago. But Kazalar, the moment you rushed up, you immediately asked Wu Yun to hand over his battle technique. Could it be that Wu Yun has a battle technique that your Harito family has taken fancy to?" The Feng family head's words caused Kazalar's expression to change slightly. He said, "Feng family head, please don't make wild guesses without concrete evidence." Kazalar knew that if a Saint Master could kill dozens of great Saint Masters, then the battle skill he used would be at least an Earth-tier battle skill. If the news of an Earth-tier battle skill were to spread, then it would probably lead to a fight between the peak forces of the Blue Wind Kingdom. Against these peak forces with Heaven's Saint Masters, the Harlador clan could only stand aside. In a place like the Blue Wind Kingdom, an Earth-tier battle skill was enough to attract the attention of the peak forces. This was because the strongest Heaven's Saint Masters in the Blue Wind Kingdom only used Earth-tier battle skills. The Feng family head chuckled. He then looked at Jianxun and said, "Little brother, I wonder if what I just said is true." A profound smile appeared on Jianxun's face as he said, "That's right. 2 years ago, the Harito clan's Yin, Kazalar, had indeed taken a fancy to my battle skill, which was why he tried to kill me. He tried to get me to give it to the Harito clan." Jianxun's words caused Kazalar's expression to become extremely gloomy. He now understood that the matter of the battle skill could not be hidden even if he wanted to. Moreover, there were so many people present. Even if they wanted to silence him, they did not have the ability to do so. "Little brother, I wonder what battle skill you grasped that even the Harlador clan coveted it. I presume that the battle skill's grade must not be low." Ing Kong stood in front of Jianxun and asked. His expression was very serious. He was also very concerned about this matter. A battle skill that even the Harlador clan coveted? Everyone present thought that the battle skill's grade must not be low. This caused the flames of desire to burn in the hearts of the people from the various forces. Everyone wanted to obtain it. Seeing the greed in the eyes of the people around him, Jianxun's lips curled into a disdainful sneer. He slowly crossed his arms in front of his chest and calmly said, "The battle skill I grasped is an advanced Earth rank battle skill." As soon as they heard that it was an advanced Earth rank battle skill, everyone was shocked. Their breathing immediately became heavy as they looked at Jianxun with shining eyes. Their faces were filled with desire. An advanced Earth rank battle skill was already considered one of the top battle skills in the Blue Wind Kingdom. Kazalar's expression suddenly changed. His face was filled with regret. If he had known earlier that Jianshun grasped an advanced Earth rank battle skill, then no matter what, he would have done everything he could to prevent Jianshun from revealing it. This was because once the news of the advanced Earth rank battle skill spread out, then the top forces of the Blue Wind Kingdom would definitely interfere. Kazalar, why didn't you tell me something so important earlier? You bastard, look at you now. You've ruined everything. Ensky growled at Kazalar in a low voice, his face full of anger. The development of the situation had completely exceeded Kazalar's expectations. Kazalar was also very regretful of his previous impulsiveness. He should not have revealed the secret of the battle skill the moment he saw Wu Yun. I never thought that little brother actually grasped an advanced Earth rank battle skill. This really makes me feel very surprised. In our Blue Wind Kingdom, I'm afraid that there are not more than 10 types of battle skills like this. Ing Changkong stood at the back and laughed loudly. His eyes were burning with desire. An advanced Earth rank battle skill. Who wouldn't be moved by it? The patriarch of the Feng clan slowly calmed himself down. The light in his eyes flickered a few times as he said, "Little brother, an advanced Earth rank battle skill will only bring you more trouble. It might even bring you a life-threatening situation. I have thought of an extremely good method for you to solve this problem. My Feng clan has a pretty good relationship with the #1 sect of the Blue Wind Kingdom, the Purple Pole sect. Why don't you sell the advanced Earth rank battle skill to the Purple Pole sect? The Purple Pole sect can guarantee your safety. Once you have the support of the Purple Pole sect, even if you possess an advanced Earth rank battle skill, no one in the Blue Wind Kingdom would dare to make things difficult for you. I hope that little brother can seriously consider this." The patriarch is right. Little brother, the Purple Pole sect is extremely powerful. There are Heaven Saint Masters in the sect. They are one of the peak forces in the Blue Wind Kingdom. Once you have the support of the Purple Pole sect, even the other peak forces will have to think twice before making a move against you. There is no need to worry about anyone doing anything to you. An old man beside the patriarch of the Feng family spoke as well. He spoke with a sincere tone, as if he was completely thinking for Jianshen's sake. Hearing the patriarch of the Feng clan's words, Kazalar and Insky's faces had already become the color of pig liver. They were extremely gloomy. The Purple Pole sect was a peak force in the Blue Wind Kingdom. It was connected to the royal family through marriage. Its strength was not something the Harito clan could compare to. Even if the old patriarch of the Harito clan could successfully break through to become a Heaven Saint Master, he would definitely not dare to make an enemy out of the Purple Pole sect. Not only was the Purple Pole sect much more powerful than the Harito clan in terms of heritage, even the Heaven Saint Masters were peak experts who had made a name for themselves in the Blue Wind Kingdom many years ago. The moment they heard the words ZG sect, the expressions of quite a few people changed slightly as they sighed endlessly in their hearts. Everyone understood in their hearts that if the latter really handed over the high-level Earth rank battle skill to the ZG sect for protection, then they would also lose the opportunity to fight for the battle skill. The strength of the ZG sect was far from what they could provoke. Jianshun smiled. "Thank you for your kindness, Patriarch Feng. However, I will keep the Earth-tier battle skill, so there is no need for you to worry about it." The Patriarch of the Feng clan's face tightened. He said sincerely, "Little brother, you must consider this carefully. A high-level Earth-tier battle skill is extremely precious. Without the protection of the Purple Pole sect, you will encounter endless trouble. You may even lose your lives because of it." The patriarch of the Feng clan also hoped that he could persuade Feng Shun to hand the battle skill over to the Purple Pole sect. If this matter was settled, the Purple Pole sect would not mistreat their Feng clan. Moreover, the relationship between the Feng clan and the Purple Pole sect would become even closer. Jinshin shook his head without any hesitation. "There is no need for Patriarch Feng to worry about this. We will deal with the small problems." Jinshin's refusal to seek protection from the Purple Pole sect made everyone's eyes light up. Flames of hope began to burn in their hearts. Although they knew that even if they obtained the battle skill, they would have to hand it over to the peak organizations. At the very least, they would have the right to plagiarize a copy and practice it for themselves. Wu Yun, you killed so many experts of my Yulan clan 2 years ago. How do you explain this? A member of the Yulan clan asked. He also wanted to use their past grievances to participate in the fight for the Earth Tier battle skill. You also killed many people of my Hyman clan. A few days ago, you even heavily injured my son. My Hyman clan will not stand idly by, the patriarch of the Hyman clan said in a deep voice. In my Yang clan, Wu Yun, 2 years ago, you killed many experts in my Yang clan. Today, we will properly settle this debt. And my Mu Tian clan, the various organizations that had a grudge against Jianshan 2 years ago, stood out one after another. Everyone was using this as a pretext to make a fuss. They only wanted to use the matter from 2 years ago to reasonably intervene. Everyone wanted a share of the Earth Tier battle skill. As for the large families from the first-tier cities, very few people spoke. They stood there silently, observing the development of the situation. Seeing so many organizations interfering, Kazler also knew that this matter could not be delayed any longer. Otherwise, there would be unpredictable changes. Without any hesitation, he charged towards Jianshan with his hammer in hand and shouted, "Wu Yun, it's time for us to properly settle our debt." However, just as Kazler moved, De Gufeng also moved. The great sword in his hand emitted a fiery glow as it slashed towards Kazler without any hesitation. Feeling the abnormal movement behind him, Kazler's face slightly changed. He immediately turned around and swung his hammer towards De Gufeng's greatsword. When the two holy weapons collided, an intense shockwave of energy erupted, destroying the entire street. After the collision, Kazler could not help but take 3 steps back. As for De Gufeng, he was still standing firmly in the same place. His body did not even sway in the slightest. Chapter 568. Kazler's expression became serious as he stared at De Gufeng in shock. The fact that De Gufeng was an Earth Saint Master was already enough to shock him, but he never thought that De Gufeng would be even stronger than him. "Sir, what is the meaning of this? What happened before was just a misunderstanding. Old man has already apologized to you in front of everyone. Are you still not satisfied?" Kazler said in a deep voice. The strength that De Gufeng displayed was even greater than his own, which made him feel a little fearful. No one would take the initiative to provoke such an expert unless they had no other choice. De Gufeng coldly stared at Kazler with his huge, fiery red sword in hand. His face was expressionless, and his expression was cold. He did not say anything, and under the gazes of everyone present, he slowly walked toward Jianshan and the others with his huge sword in hand. In the end, he quietly stood behind Jianshan and the others. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people were all shocked. Only now did they realize that they were actually in cahoots. Kazler's expression also became very ugly. Thinking back to how he had actually apologized to De Gufeng, his expression became a little awkward. He simply wanted to slap himself. "I never thought that you would actually be in cahoots. Wu Yun, you really are capable. You actually found an Earth Saint Master expert. However, do you think that you could be carefree with just an Earth Saint Master? You are far too naive," Kazler said through gritted teeth. Jianshan stared at Kazler with disdain and sneered. "Just who is the naive one? We will know in a moment. Yin, Kazler, the debt from 2 years ago, it's time to properly settle it today." "Haha, yes, it is indeed time to settle the score. However, what I didn't expect was that when I threw you off the cliff, you actually didn't die. 2 years later, you actually appeared in front of me again. Regarding the matter of that year, you must hate me very much. Now I, Kazler, will give you a fair chance for a duel. However, there are too many people here, so let's settle this outside." Kazler sneered. Now that the latter's combat skill had been exposed, many of the people present wanted to obtain it. The most direct way to obtain the combat skill was to kill the latter and take the combat skill from him. If the combat skill was not on him, then they would directly capture him and bring him back to the family. Then, they would torture him and force him to reveal the contents of the combat skill. Therefore, several parties who had grudges against Jianshan were now scrambling to tell the others about their grudges against Jianshan. They wanted to use this as an excuse to capture Jianshan in a reasonable manner. Then, they would be able to obtain the battle skill first and make a copy of it for safekeeping. Kazler also had the same idea in his heart. Jianshan gently shook his head and said, "This place is spacious enough. Let's settle it here. I don't have the time to accompany you all to run around." Jianshan coldly looked around and sneered. 2 years ago, I formed a grudge with many of the people present here. Now, all those who wish to take revenge, please step forward. Today, we will settle the grudges of the past. Brat, you sure are arrogant. Don't think that you'll be fine just because you invited an Earth Saint Master. You killed quite a few people from the 3 great clans of Fengyang City back then, so we definitely won't let you off so easily, the old man sneered. Another 30 people walked out from the crowd. They were from the other 2 great clans of Fengyang City. Now, the 3 great clans of Fengyang City had all stood out and chosen to become enemies with Jianshan. Only the city lord's estate remained silent. Jianshan calmly looked around and loudly said, "If there is anyone else who wishes to take revenge or obtain my high-level Earth-tier battle skill, please step forward." Towards the end, Jianshan's tone became even colder. "Wu Yun, you are too arrogant. Do you think that you are a Heaven Saint Master? You actually dare to be so arrogant in front of so many of us. You are ignoring our existence and looking down on us." A middle-aged man said in a deep voice, "Currently, the 3 great clans of Fengyang City, including the 2 experts from the Herodor clan, had a total of 5 Earth Saint Masters. Facing 5 Earth Saint Masters, the latter actually dared to act so recklessly. This infuriated quite a few people. The latter's actions clearly showed that he did not place them in his eyes. How could these people, who were always high above others and liked to be praised by others, accept this? The white tiger quietly lay in Jianshan's arms. Its bright eyes were filled with intelligence as it curiously looked around. Its gaze moved from one person to another in an extremely obedient manner. Jianshan gently stroked the soft fur on the white tiger's head as his lips gradually curled into a sinister smile that was the complete opposite of his usual gentleness. He said, "Those who are not involved, please back off quickly so that you won't be affected. Ming Dong, Dugafeng, kill all those who stand out." Dugafeng didn't say a word and immediately rushed out. The huge sword in his hand released a substantial flame that swept out, instantly killing the Saint Masters in front of him. The huge sword swept across their chests, cutting their bodies in half. Ming Dong did not hesitate either. As soon as Jianshan finished speaking, he took out his saint weapon. His body then turned into a faint green light as he charged toward Kazler with an unbelievable speed. His sharp eyes were filled with dense, killing intent. Following the actions of the two, the battle between the 2 sides officially began. The surrounding onlookers also consciously retreated far away to avoid being affected by the battle. Ming Dong's Saint Force was of the wind attribute, so his speed was extremely fast. Kazler only saw a flash of green before a slender longsword appeared in front of his chest, causing him to pale in fright. He immediately used the hammer in his hand to block in front of him, barely blocking Ming Dong's attack. Bang! Ming Dong's longsword stabbed into Kazler's hammer. The surging Saint Force within the longsword immediately exploded. The Saint Force that was much more powerful than Kazler's exploded, immediately sending Kazler flying. He flew over 20 meters before landing miserably on the ground. He staggered back continuously and only managed to stabilize himself after retreating over 10 meters with great difficulty. The ground where he had been standing had already been split into pieces. Cracks as wide as a palm had formed, and even some of the hard marble had been reduced to dust. How is this possible? Why, you're actually a 6-cycle Earth Saint Master. Kazler stared at Ming Dong's young face in shock. His face was filled with disbelief as his heart churned. His face had also become rather pale. The strength of the young man in front of him was basically on par with the old patriarch of the Herodor clan. Ming Dong had been hiding his strength the entire time, so no one could tell that he was actually an Earth Saint Master. Now that he had taken action, his hidden strength had been revealed. Only then did everyone discover in shock that the young man they had overlooked was actually a peak Earth Saint Master. Many people found this hard to believe because Ming Dong's age was just too young. The patriarch of the Feng family also stared at Ming Dong in amazement. He muttered, "I never thought that the young man would actually be a six-cycle Earth Saint Master." No wonder Wu Yun could remain so calm in the face of so many forces. He really did have something to rely on. A six-cycle Earth Saint Master is enough to deal with all the forces present. The Pavilion Master of the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion also secretly rejoiced. He said, "I never thought that Wu Yun's side would actually be so powerful. There aren't many six-cycle Earth Saint Masters in the Blue Wind Kingdom. He's only a step away from becoming a Heaven Saint Master. It's fortunate that our Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion did not interfere. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have been able to escape death today." Vice Pavilion Master Zhou Tong also rejoiced. He said, "It's still the Pavilion Master's wisdom that allowed our Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion to escape this disaster. Let's retreat a little and see how the three great clans of the Phoenix Sun City will survive this disaster." A six-cycle Earth Saint Master is someone who can easily deal with 5 Earth Saint Masters. If he still has battle records, then reaching this point, the Pavilion Master of the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion gently sighed. He did not continue speaking because the consequences were obvious. Chapter 569. In just a few short moments, De Gufeng had killed more than 10 great Saint Masters and Saint Masters. In the end, he was held back by the Earth Saint Masters of the 3 local powers of Fengyang City. They engaged in an intense battle on the main street. Every time they collided, a powerful shockwave would erupt in all directions, causing the buildings in the distance to become a mess. The entire street was heavily damaged. Even the Heavenly Phoenix auction house was not spared. Due to the shockwaves from the battle between the two sides, the grand entrance of the Heavenly Phoenix auction house shook incessantly. A large amount of dust fell from the entrance, and many cracks appeared on the thick doorpost. The shockwaves of the battle between several Earth Saint Masters were just too powerful. The spectators in the surroundings all retreated time and time again, leaving a very spacious area for the two sides to settle their grudges. There were even quite a few weaker people who were affected by the shockwaves of the battle, causing them to suffer some minor injuries. Ming Dong's target had completely shifted to Kazaler. After repelling him with a single strike, he did not hesitate in the slightest. He immediately closed in on Kazaler, leaving behind an afterimage where he had been standing. The sword in his hand carried a powerful ripple of energy as it pierced towards Kazaler's chest. Kazaler only had the strength of a first-cycle Earth Saint Master. Compared to a sixth-cycle Earth Saint Master, the difference in strength was extremely large. Just as he stabilized his body, Ming Dong had already closed in on him. The thin sword mercilessly pierced through his chest, piercing through it. The intense pain caused Kazaler to let out a muffled groan, and his face instantly turned pale. Then, he looked at Ming Dong with eyes full of shock and disbelief, because the young man in front of him gave him the feeling that he was much more terrifying than the old patriarch of the Harlito family. A cruel smile appeared on Ming Dong's face. He did not give Kazaler any time to catch his breath. Surging saint force erupted from the sword that had pierced through Kazaler's chest, rampaging through his body. In the blink of an eye, Kazaler's internal organs were destroyed. Less than 2 seconds, Ming Dong had heavily injured an Earth Saint Master to the point where he lost the ability to continue fighting. Such a shocking achievement had left all the spectators speechless for quite some time. They were all stunned where they stood. Earth Saint Masters were peak experts in Fengyang City. There were only 4 of them in the entire city. In the eyes of the crowd, they were unreachable existences that could only be looked up to. Yet, at this moment, such powerful existences were actually so weak. This caused a great impact in the hearts of the crowd. Kazaler, Ensky cried out. Only 2 seconds had passed since the start of the battle between Kazaler and Ming Dong. Ensky did not think that Ming Dong would be so powerful. In just 2 rounds, he had injured Kazaler, who was also an Earth Saint Master. Ensky did not hesitate at all. He immediately drew his saint weapon and charged towards Ming Dong in an attempt to stop Ming Dong from saving Kazaler. Even though he knew that his opponent was a 6th-cycle Earth Saint Master, he did not feel the slightest bit of fear. Seeing Insky charge over, a strong killing intent flashed through Ming Dong's eyes. With a sneer, his body swayed slightly as he arrived in front of Insky. The sword in his hand stabbed out like a bolt of lightning. Insky was slightly stronger than Kazaler, as he was a 2nd-cycle Earth Saint Master. However, compared to Ming Dong, the difference was still extremely large. In their first clash, Insky was completely suppressed by Ming Dong. He could not even fight back, and could only defend himself. "Sir, I don't know why you would risk offending my Harito clan to help Wu Yun. As long as you don't interfere, my Harito clan can give you whatever Wu Yun can give you. There's no need to become enemies with my Harito clan. You should know that the old patriarch of my Harito clan will soon break through to Heaven's Saint Master and become a peak expert of the Blue Wind Kingdom. Why don't we bury the hatchet and work together to kill Wu Yun and take his battle skill and comprehend it together?" Insky loudly said. He knew that he was not Ming Dong's opponent, so he tried to use benefits and the power of the Harito clan to intimidate Ming Dong. However, how could Insky understand just how close the relationship between Ming Dong and Jinshin was? Not only did his words not have any effect, they had instead aroused Ming Dong's killing intent. "Just because of what you've said, I'll definitely kill you today," Ming Dong growled. His voice was cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. His attacks became even more ferocious. Under Ming Dong's full-powered attacks, the pressure on Insky increased. He was only able to block 3 moves before his right arm was cut off by Ming Dong. The pain of losing his arm caused Insky to cry out in pain. His cry reverberated through the entire area, causing everyone who heard it to feel their hairs stand on end. This was a cry that came from an Earth Saint Master. The excruciating pain ravaged Insky's nerves, reducing his reflexes to the lowest level. Just as he was enduring the excruciating pain, a faint green light flashed across his eyes. Insky then lost his senses, and the screams in his mouth came to an abrupt halt. His head had already been separated from his body and was flying high up into the air. Below him, a bright red pillar of blood shot up into the sky like a fountain, spraying a full 2 meters into the air. Everyone in the surroundings stared at this scene in a daze. Disbelief filled their faces. No one would have thought that an Earth Saint Master would die in such a short time of battle. Moreover, it would be in such a miserable state. His entire head had been chopped off, leaving him without a complete corpse. Even the large clans from the first-class cities were stunned by this scene. An Earth Saint Master had died, just like that. The scene that had just unfolded before everyone's eyes was extremely impactful. On the other side, the 3 Earth Saint Masters battling Dugufeng were also stunned by this scene. However, they quickly returned to their senses and looked at each other. Without any hesitation, they abandoned Dugufeng and charged toward Jinshin and Yu, as if they had a tacit understanding of each other. They attempted to use the 2 of them to threaten Ming Dong and Dugufeng. Seeing that the 3 of them did not flee and instead charged toward Jinshin, Ming Dong and Dugufeng revealed a mocking expression. They did not stop the 3 of them and instead charged toward the others. This was because Jinshin had ordered that anyone who participated would be killed without mercy. Jinshin expressionlessly stared at the 3 Earth Saint Masters charging at him. His lips gradually curled into a disdainful sneer. With a light tap of his finger, 3 strands of sword chi shot out from the tip of his finger towards the 3 Earth Saint Masters. Caught off guard, the 3 of them were struck in the chest by the azure and violet sword chi. The sharp sword chi passed through their bodies and crushed their hearts to pieces. Suffering such heavy injuries, the 3 people who were charging forward came to an abrupt stop. Their faces instantly turned pale, and they spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. When they realized that their hearts had been shattered, despair appeared in their eyes. Although having their hearts crushed was not enough to immediately kill them, they definitely would not be able to live unless they could immediately find a high-level Radiant Saint Master to heal them. However, How could there be a high-level Radiant Saint Master in Fengyang City? With the collapse of the Earth Saint Masters, the remaining people, who were at most great Saint Masters, were unable to stop Ming Dong and Dugu Feng's slaughter. The two of them attacked with their full strength and quickly killed several dozen people. Bright red blood dyed the ground red. The Earth Saint Masters of the three great clans of Fengyang City all half-knelt on the ground, allowing the blood to flow from their chests. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief as they looked at Jianshan. They never thought that Jianshan would not only find two Earth Saint Masters to help him, but that his own strength was also so terrifying. They did not even see what the azure and violet lights were. Jianshan walked over from afar with the heavily injured Kazaler. He had Kazaler kneel in front of Jianshan and said, "Brother, how do you plan on dealing with this person?" Kazaler's face was ashen. He now knew that the Harito clan could not threaten Jianshan's side because Jianshan's side did not fear the Harito clan at all. Jianshan coldly stared at Kazaler and sneered. "Yan, Kazaler, you never thought that today's matter would actually end up like this. Your Harito clan and the three great powers of Fengyang City not only failed to take me down, but also ended up as prisoners. I have always remembered the debt from 2 years ago, and now I can finally settle it." Yin. Kazaler slowly raised his head to look at Jianshan's young face. Because of his heavy injuries, Kazaler's face was terrifyingly pale, without a trace of blood. "If I had known that this day would come, I would have chased you down the cliff 2 years ago and completely ended your life," Kazaler said through gritted teeth. "You're courting death." Ming Dong was furious. He punched Kazaler's head, causing it to bleed. A cold light flashed through Jianshan's eyes as he sneered. "Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world. Time can't be turned back, so you won't have a chance." With that said, Jianshan waved his hand and said, "Kill." Ming Dong did not hesitate at all. Wind-attributed Saint Force gathered in his hand and viciously struck Kazaler's head. The powerful Saint Force rushed into Kazaler's brain and scattered his soul. Kazaler did not even make a sound as he powerlessly lay on the ground, following in Ensky's footsteps. Chapter 570. These three Earth Saint Masters were the current patriarchs of the three great clans of Fengyang City. When the three heard Jianshan's words, they all raised their heads to look at Jianshan. One of them said, "Our hearts have already been shattered. We won't be able to live anyway. If you want to kill us, please do as you please. Why waste your time talking nonsense here?" Jianshan chuckled. "You can't blame me for your fate. If you want to blame someone, blame yourselves for being too greedy. You brought this upon yourselves. You can't blame anyone else. We can only blame ourselves for being weaker than you. Otherwise, the one kneeling on the ground right now would be you and not us." A middle-aged man said hatefully. Since they were going to die anyway, they had no choice but to throw caution to the wind. They were not afraid of angering Jianshan. Jianshan nodded and smiled. "That's right. You're right. If we weren't stronger than you, the one kneeling on the ground right now would probably be me. On this continent, there is no such thing as reason. Everything is based on strength." As he spoke, Jianshan glanced back at Tai Ta, who was standing behind him. He saw Tai Ta standing there with a blank expression as he stared at the corpses and blood on the ground. His face was filled with an unbearable expression. It wasn't that Tai Ta had never seen a bloody scene before. However, those scenes were all made up of the corpses of magical beasts. This was the first time he had seen a bloody scene made up of human corpses. Seeing such a cruel scene for the first time made it very difficult for him to get used to it. It was also very difficult for him to accept it. Jianshan sighed. Tai Ta's personality was simple and honest. If he wanted him to get used to the environment of the Tianyuan continent, he would need some time. Jianshan glanced at the three patriarchs of Fengyang City and said, "From today onwards, there will be no more three great clans in Fengyang City. In order to lessen your pain, I will send you on your way now." There were quite a few clans in Fengyang City. If the three Earth Saint Masters died, then the three great clans' positions would be taken by others. Jianshan gently raised his right hand and flicked his finger. 3 rays of sword chi shot out from his fingertips and instantly shot into the heads of the 3 men, scattering their souls. Even though they were Heaven's Saint Masters, they had no chance of survival. The patriarchs of the 3 great clans of Fengyang City softly fell to the ground and quickly lost their lives. In a private room, 3 of the original 4 experts of the Phoenix Sun City had died. Only the City Lord, an Earth Saint Master, remained. The City Lord of Fengyang City stood silently in the distance as he watched the scene unfold before him. His expression was complicated and pained. The death of the 3 Earth Saint Masters had greatly weakened the strength of Fengyang City. However, he was helpless in the face of all this. He had no power to change anything. The City Lord of Fengyang City stood in the crowd without saying a word. Even though the 3 patriarchs of the 3 great clans had been killed, he didn't dare to say anything. This was because Jinshin's group had displayed great strength. The City Lord didn't dare to offend them, so he didn't dare to interfere in this matter. He didn't even dare to say a word. However, Jinshin had killed the 3 Earth Saint Masters with just a flick of his finger. This strength and method once again stunned the spectators. They all felt that it was inconceivable. Following this, the way the crowd looked at Jinshin underwent a huge change. Originally, their understanding of Jinshin's strength was still at the level of 2 years ago. They all thought that in a mere 2 years, Jinshin's strength wouldn't have changed that much. Even if his cultivation talent was extraordinary, it would already be very impressive for him to reach the Great Saint Master Realm. As for reaching the Earth Saint Master Realm, that was simply impossible. This was because Jinshin's current appearance was just too young. But now, the spectators suddenly understood that Jinshin's calmness in the face of the Harito clan and the 3 great clans of Fengyang City wasn't because of Ming Dong and Dugu Feng, 2 Earth Saint Masters. Instead, it was because he himself possessed extremely terrifying strength. He didn't even consider his opponents to be a threat. Mixed in the crowd, the large clans from the first-class cities all looked at each other with serious expressions. Everyone's foreheads were covered in a thin layer of cold sweat as their hearts beat wildly. Previously, when they found out that Yishuan had a battle skill, greed had indeed appeared in their hearts. There were even a few powers that almost couldn't resist interfering. However, they lacked a reasonable excuse. Coupled with the interference of the Harito clan and the 3 great clans of Fengyang City, they were able to endure it. But now, after witnessing the strength displayed by Jinshin's group, all those who harbored improper thoughts felt a deep sense of lingering fear. They inwardly rejoiced that they hadn't done anything rash before. Otherwise, they would be one of the corpses lying on the ground right now. Jinshin's gaze swept through the surroundings. His gaze paused for a moment on the group of people from the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion, but he quickly shifted his gaze away. The group of people from the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion all felt their hearts tighten when they saw Jinshin's gaze. Their eyes were filled with fear. They were extremely worried that Jinshin would cause trouble for them again. Yishuan could even easily kill Earth Saint Masters. What could their Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion use to resist him? Jinshin's gaze swept through the crowd. He smiled faintly and said, "The number of people who once wanted to steal from me is far more than just these few. Everyone, I wonder if there's anyone else who wants to steal from me? If so, then step forward." The entire area was silent. No one said a word. At this moment, a white-robed old man with a head full of white hair stepped forward. He clasped his hands respectfully to Jinshin and said, "Esteemed expert, I am the pavilion master of the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion. In view of the matter 2 years ago, I represent the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion to sincerely apologize to you. I hope that you won't hold a grudge against us and forgive the disrespect of our Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion. Although our Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion is only a third-rate power, we're still capable of handling some small matters. If there's anything you need our Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion to do in the future, feel free to let us know. Our Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion will definitely do our best." The pavilion master of the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion spoke with an extremely sincere tone. His attitude was humble as he apologized to Jinshin. He knew that this might be the only way to protect the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion. 2 years ago, those who chased after Jinshin all over the city had all been killed by Ming Dong and Dugafeng. The three major powers of Fengyang City, the Yulan clan, Muda clan, and the others had all been wiped out. Of those present, the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion was probably the only power that had survived the pursuit of Jinshin 2 years ago. Seeing how the pavilion master of the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion spoke with sincerity, as well as the fact that they didn't participate in the previous matter, Jinshin didn't make a fuss about it. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, "Even though I, Jinshin, am a vengeful person, I'm not a narrow-minded person. Since Pavilion Master is so sincere in your apology, I'll write off the matter from 2 years ago." Hearing those words, those from the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion felt as though they had been granted amnesty. Every single one of them revealed a look of joy on their faces. "Thank you for showing mercy to my Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion, little brother. My Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion is extremely grateful that you didn't kill us today. If little brother has any needs, my Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion is willing to do anything for you," the Pavilion Master of the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion said gratefully. The strength that Jinshin had displayed today was just too powerful. Even the Pavilion Master of the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion wanted to submit to him. Jinshin could naturally tell that the Pavilion Master of the Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion wanted to submit to him, but he didn't say anything. The Wandering Cloud Sword Pavilion could only be considered as a third-rate power in the Blue Wind Kingdom. They didn't even have an Earth Saint Master. How could he be interested in such a power? Dugafeng, go to the Heavenly Phoenix auction house and get the money from selling the 2 Class 5 monster cores. Jinshin turned to Dugafeng and said. Dugafeng nodded silently. Without saying anything, he turned around and walked into the Heavenly Phoenix auction house. Ming Dong didn't stay idle either. He arrived before the corpses of the 5 Earth Saint Masters and took their space rings. He had obtained a total of 3 space rings and 2 space belts. Ming Dong took out 5 glittering purple gold cards from the space rings and giggled. There are actually 5 purple gold cards. There should be at least a few 100,000 purple gold coins in there. Now I've become a rich man. Seeing Ming Dong like this, Jinshin couldn't help but bitterly smile. A 6-cycle Earth Saint Master actually lacked money. This was probably a rare occurrence on the Tianyuan continent. Not long after, Jinshin walked out of the Heavenly Phoenix auction house with the purple gold coins from selling the 2 Class 5 monster cores. After that, Jinshin's group left the auction house, leaving behind a mess. Within the Heavenly Phoenix auction house, Manager Urian stood on a tall building at the back of the auction house and looked ahead. She clearly saw everything that had happened. "I never thought that Wu Yun, who had been chased all over the city by various organizations 2 years ago, would actually return in such a powerful manner. Not only did he kill 2 Earth Saint Masters from the Harito clan, he even killed the leaders of the 3 major organizations in Fengyang City. This is probably retribution." Urian softly muttered to herself as she watched Jinshin's group leave with a complicated expression. She then glanced at the destroyed ground and entrance of the Heavenly Phoenix auction house. A pained expression appeared on her face as she muttered, "Looks like we'll have to spend quite a lot of the money we earned today." The surrounding crowd sent off Jinshin's group with their eyes. Wherever Jinshin's group passed by, the people in their way would hastily make way for them. When Jinshin's group disappeared from the street, the area gradually became noisy with discussion. The leaders of the 3 major organizations of Fengyang City had all been killed. This was a shocking matter in Fengyang City. I didn't expect that the little brother sitting in VIP room number 8 would be so powerful. Even I misjudged him. The captain of the Condor mercenaries, Ing Zhangkong, sighed emotionally. Who would have thought that the young man he had chatted with in the auction house would actually possess such great strength? Even he felt extremely shocked. Chapter 571. In the Yun family, the patriarch of the Yun family quickly received the news of what had happened outside the Heavenly Phoenix auction house. When he found out that the patriarch of the Haiming clan had been killed, he was completely stunned. How is this possible? How is this possible? The patriarch of the Haiming clan has actually been killed. Even the leaders of the other two clans in Fengyang City have all died. They are all Earth Saint Masters. The patriarch of the Yun family muttered in a daze. The sudden news was just too shocking. Even he found it hard to believe. No matter what, he did not dare to accept this reality. At this moment, a girl in a red dress walked in from outside. She looked at the patriarch of the Yun family with a complicated expression and said in a low voice, "Father, I just heard that the leaders of the three clans of Fengyang City have all been killed. Is this true?" "Nonsense. The leaders of the three clans are all Earth Saint Masters. Who in Fengyang City can kill the three of them? This matter must be fake. Men, immediately go outside and find out the truth of this matter. You must get to the bottom of this." The patriarch of the Yun family's temper suddenly became irritable as he roared outside. "Yes, patriarch. This subordinate will personally go and find out." A guard who was waiting outside immediately ran out to find out the truth of the news. Very soon, the person who went to find out the news returned. He arrived in front of the patriarch of the Yun family and said with a terrified expression, "Patriarch, the news is true. The leaders of the three clans have all been killed. Their corpses are still lying outside the Heavenly Phoenix auction house. Even quite a few of the experts of the three clans have died." The patriarch of the Yun family's expression changed drastically. Originally, he had only treated this as a rumor and was not willing to believe it. However, after hearing the news that the guard had personally gone to find out, he had no choice but to believe it. No matter how hard it was for him to accept it, he could not change the truth. "Is what you said true? Did you really see the corpses of the leaders of the three clans with your own eyes?" The patriarch of the Yun family tightly gripped the guard's shoulder as he sternly shouted. He wanted to confirm it again. Yes, patriarch. It's absolutely true. This subordinate has personally seen the corpses of the leaders of the three great clans. It can't be fake. The death of the heads of the three great clans in Fengyang City shocked him. This matter was like a bolt from the blue in Fengyang City. The Yin family patriarch's expression became a little sluggish. He was in a daze. Although the Yun family was a family power, they were not up to par in Fengyang City. There were many forces and mercenary groups that were stronger than them. Originally, the Yun family had gained some status in Fengyang City because they had gotten close to one of the three great families, the Haiming family. Furthermore, they had already arranged a marriage with the Haiming family. Once his daughter was married off, the Yun family's status in Fengyang City would soar. But now, the Haiming family had actually suffered such a heavy blow. Even their leader, an Earth Saint Master, had been killed. To the Yun family, this was an extremely heavy blow. This was because the patriarch of the Yun family understood that if they lost their Earth Saint Master, the Haiming family would lose their status as one of the three great clans in Fengyang City. They would be reduced to an ordinary power, and the Yun family's dream of relying on the Haiming family to soar would be shattered. It could be said that the fall of the Haiming family had caused the Yun family to lose their opportunity to soar. Hearing that the leader of the Haiming family had been killed, the red-dress girl's eyes immediately lit up. She revealed a trace of excitement. After a slight hesitation, she said, "Father, the Haiming family has lost their Earth Saint Master and a large number of experts. The family's overall strength has been greatly reduced. The help that they can provide to our Yun family is next to nothing. Do you think we can cancel the marriage between me and the Haiming family? Don't even think about it." The patriarch of the Yun family rejected the red-dress girl's idea without any hesitation. He said, "You're right. The Haiming family has lost their Earth Saint Master expert, and their strength is indeed not as great as before. But even so, they still have a deep foundation in Fengyang City. They are far from what the other clans can compare to. They can still provide great help to our Yun family. Your marriage agreement with the Haiming family is still valid, so don't hold on to any unrealistic fantasies." Hearing this, the red-dressed girl's eyes flashed with a trace of undetectable coldness. It was not noticed by the patriarch of the Yun family. The tragedy of the Haiming family had a great impact on the development of the Yun family. It gave the patriarch of the Yun family a great headache. The patriarch of the Yun family gently sighed. He walked to the table with a heavy heart and said, Yun Lien, pour me a cup of tea. Yes, the red-dressed girl replied. She then walked to the table and gently poured a cup of tea for the patriarch of the Yun family. Afterward, she stood behind the patriarch of the Yun family and gently massaged his back. She was a very filial daughter. The patriarch of the Yun family raised the teacup and brought it to his mouth. However, just as the teacup touched his lips, the red-dressed girl's eyes suddenly revealed a trace of intense killing intent. An exquisite and small dagger slipped out of her sleeve and stabbed toward the back of the patriarch of the Yun family without any hesitation. Pooh! The red-dressed girl's attack was extremely vicious. The dagger stabbed deeply into the patriarch of the Yun family's back, leaving only the hilt outside. The patriarch of the Yun family cried out in pain, and the teacup in his hand fell onto the table. He also cultivated saint force, so his reaction was extremely fast. He immediately stood up from his chair and viciously struck the red-dressed girl with a palm strike, sending her flying through the air. She heavily slammed into the wall and fell down. She spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, having already been heavily injured. The head of the Yin family pulled out the small and delicate dagger from his back. He looked at the woman in the red dress in disbelief and asked sternly, Yun Lien, what are you doing? How dare you kill your father? The red-dressed girl crawled up from the ground. Tears flowed from her eyes as she resentfully stared at the patriarch of the Yun family. She gritted her teeth and said, You're not fit to be my father. You murderer, my mother. Don't think I don't know what you did to my mother in the past. I want revenge for her. The patriarch of the Yun family's expression changed. He threw away the dagger in his hand and furiously said, Yun Lien, are you crazy? What are you saying? At this moment, Yun Lien had already lost her usual demeanor as a young lady. She roared at the patriarch of the Yun family. Yin Tian, don't play dumb here. Tell me, just how did my mother die? The patriarch of the Yun family's face sank. Didn't your mother die of a serious illness? You're lying. Don't even think about lying to me. Don't think I don't know what happened that night. I saw it clearly from the shadows. My mother didn't die of a serious illness at all. She was beaten to death by you. You murderer of my mother, you're not fit to be my father, roared the red-dressed girl. What did you say? You saw it clearly from the shadows? The patriarch of the Yun family stared at the red-dressed girl in shock as he asked in disbelief. The woman in the red dress stared at the head of the Yun family with eyes full of resentment. She gritted her teeth and said, That's right. I hid in the dark and saw clearly what you did to my mother that night. My mother was beaten to death by you. My mother was once a cultivator and even grasped an earth-tier battle skill. However, because her saint weapon was destroyed, she was reduced to a cripple. You unintentionally learned that my mother grasped an earth-tier battle skill, so you wanted my mother to teach you the battle skill. My mother refused, so you repeatedly beat my mother in an attempt to force her to hand over the battle skill. However, because my mother's saint weapon was destroyed, she was reduced to a cripple, and her body was extremely weak. After you repeatedly abused her, you finally brutally beat her to death. I know all of this. Do you think that you can fool me with some random excuse? You can't fool me. You're a beast with a human face and a beast's heart. You simply don't have the qualifications to be my father. I will personally kill you to avenge my mother. The patriarch of the Yun family's face had completely changed. He glared at the red-dressed girl and growled, I never thought that you would know about this so clearly. I've underestimated you. You actually hid such an important matter in your heart without me noticing at all. You're so scheming at such a young age, as expected of my daughter. However, do you think that you can kill me with an iron weapon? You haven't even condensed a saint artifact yet, and you're not even a saint yet. How do you have the ability to kill me? The red-dressed girl sneered. You underestimate me too much. I obviously wouldn't be so naive as to think that I can kill you with an iron weapon. Actually, I've already smeared poison on the dagger. I bought it from the Heavenly Phoenix auction house at a high price. The poison is extremely potent, and the antidotes outside are unable to remove it. Yin Tian, you won't be able to escape death today. Go to hell and accompany my mother in death. The red-dressed girl practically roared out the last sentence. What? You actually smeared poison on the dagger? The patriarch of the Yun family's face changed drastically. His face was filled with fear, and he immediately charged towards the red-dressed girl. Give me the antidote. The red-dressed girl was already prepared. As soon as the patriarch of the Yun family moved, she immediately turned around and ran towards the door, disappearing very quickly. The patriarch of the Yun family did not chase after her. He stared in the direction that the red-dressed girl had disappeared with resentment. He gnashed his teeth and said, "You damn girl, you actually dared to murder your father. I won't let you off. You won't be able to get far." The patriarch of the Yun family immediately returned to his room. He hurriedly rummaged through a cabinet and pulled out a large pile of jade bottles. He randomly poured out a large amount of antidote pills and stuffed them into his mouth. He hoped that he could remove the poison from his body. Even if he couldn't, he had to stop the poison from spreading. Chapter 572. The woman in red hastily fled from the Yun clan. She rode a Class 1 magical beast mount and rushed towards the crowded streets. She had been injured by the Yun clan head's palm strike earlier. Although the Yun clan head's strength did not cause too much damage to her, it still affected her greatly, as she had yet to condense a saint weapon. As a result, her face turned pale. Capture her, you unfilial daughter. You actually dared to murder your father. The Yun family patriarch's violent voice came from behind. The back of the Yun family patriarch's clothes had already been dyed red with blood, and he was leading several dozen guards in hot pursuit. However, there were too many people on the bustling streets, and with the strength of these guards, they were unable to perform the movement of leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls. Moreover, the Yun family's magical beast mounts were also extremely rare, so the majority of the guards could only use their legs to run on the streets. Only the Yun family patriarch and several loyal and devoted guards were chasing at top speed on their first-rank magical beast mounts, gradually closing the distance between the two. In this situation where one was fleeing and the other was chasing, the two of them crossed several streets and ran for a distance of 10 kilometers in Fengyang City. At this time, the distance between the two of them had been reduced from a few hundred meters to only a few dozen meters. Looking at the Yun clan head in hot pursuit, the woman in red knew that she would not be able to escape like this. After thinking for a while, she immediately rushed toward a nearby street. Damn girl, don't waste your energy. You won't be able to escape. Hurry up and hand over the antidote. The patriarch of the Yun family shouted from behind. His expression was somewhat anxious because he could already feel that the poison in his body was slowly spreading to every part of his body. The large amount of antidotes that he had swallowed before was simply unable to remove this poison. Currently, the best method was to obtain the antidote. The woman in the red dress turned a deaf ear to the Yun family's patriarch's shouts. She rode the rank 1 magic beast at full speed and finally stopped in front of a luxurious inn. She flipped off the magic beast and rushed into the inn. In her heart, she also understood that this might be her only hope of escaping. Not long after the woman in red entered the inn, the Yun clan head also arrived with a group of people. They all stopped in front of the inn. Surround this inn and prevent this unfilial daughter from escaping. You guys follow me in. The patriarch of the Yun family immediately made some arrangements. Then, he brought a few guards with him and entered the inn aggressively. At this moment, Jianshun and the others were gathered in a luxurious inn. Jianshun, although the 3 great clans of Fengyang City have lost a large number of experts, their clans still exist. Do you think we should wipe out their clans? After all, they treated you like that 2 years ago. Now that we have the strength, we must make them pay a heavy price. We can't let them off so easily. We've already killed 2 of their Earth Saint Masters, and I believe they won't let this matter rest. Even if they don't do anything for now, who can be sure that they won't do anything to us in the future? The Harito clan is not as weak as the 3 great clans of Fengyang City. We can ignore the 3 great clans of Fengyang City, but not the Harito clan. I think we should eliminate the Harito clan by the roots to prevent future trouble, Ming Dong suggested. Isn't that a little too cruel? In the past, there was only one person who offended Jinshin. Now that he's dead, why should we implicate their clans? They're all innocent, Taita said with a pained expression. Jinshin pondered for a moment before replying. That's right. Eliminate the weeds by the roots to prevent future trouble. Back then, the people of the Harito clan almost killed me. This enmity can't be resolved so easily. Moreover, we've already killed 2 of their experts, so their enmity runs deep. They'll definitely resent us as well. Even if they don't show it, they'll bury it deep in their hearts and wait for an opportunity to deal us a heavy blow in the future. If that's the case, then let's go to the Harito clan as soon as we leave Fengyang City, Mingdong said. There's no rush. Our priority is to develop our forces. Once our flame mercenaries have a certain scale, we'll use the Harito clan as a training ground for them. Jinshin said after some thought. He also understood that the Harito clan would definitely not let the matter rest after he killed 2 of their experts. They would cause some trouble for him sooner or later, so he had to get rid of them as soon as possible. Mingdong lowered his head and thought for a while. He felt that it made sense and said, All right, let's do that. We'll leave the Harito clan as a training ground for the Flame Mercenaries. After our trip to Fengyang City, we've pretty much resolved our grievances from 2 years ago. It's already quite late, so let's rest for a day. We'll leave tomorrow morning and head to the first-tier cities to subdue those mercenary groups, Jinshin said. All right, I'll head back first. The illusory flash is just too profound. I need to spend some time and effort to comprehend it. Right now, I feel like this movement technique is much more powerful than I had imagined. Mingdong nodded and immediately stood up from his chair. Jinshin gently sighed when he heard about the illusory flash. His face was filled with regret. This movement technique was extremely profound, but unfortunately, it required Saint Force to use it. Now that he had lost his Saint Force, he no longer had the ability to use such a profound movement technique. It was a great pity. I wonder if I'll be able to use the illusory flash with chaotic force once I'm familiar with it, Jinshin thought to himself. However, he knew that that day was still extremely far away. Chaotic force was just too difficult to cultivate. The only way was to refine it from ruler armaments. If he absorbed the energy of the world, it would probably take him several years or even longer to refine a strand of chaotic force with his current rate of absorption. After all, a strand of chaotic force was equivalent to all the energy of a Saint Ruler. Even if he used monster cores, it would still require a tremendous amount of monster cores. Jinshin, have a good rest. We'll be leaving first. Yu gently said to Jinshin. Afterward, they all stood up and prepared to leave. However, as soon as Mingdong opened the door, a fiery red figure rushed in. She stumbled and almost fell to the ground. Jinshin, Mingdong, and the others all stared at the woman who had suddenly barged in. They recognized her with a single glance as the young lady of the Yun family, whom they had met a few days ago. Oi, what are you doing? Why have you suddenly barged into our room? Mingdong frowned as he complained. The woman stood still. Her face was currently pale, and her hair was a mess from the wind. She seemed to be in a horrible shape. She was nowhere near as graceful as she was a few days ago. The woman quickly glanced past Jinshin and the others as an undetectable sliver of panic and uneasiness flashed through her eyes. After a slight hesitation, she pretended to be composed and said, Young masters, I know you're very powerful, so I hope you can help me with something. If you can help me destroy the Yun family, I'll give you an Earth Tier battle skill in return. Although the woman in the red dress pretended to be calm, from her hurried tone, it was clear that she was not as calm as she appeared to be. Mingdong stared at the woman in red in amusement and chuckled. If I remember correctly, you should be the young lady of the Yun family, right? That's strange. You're the young lady of the Yun family, yet you want us to destroy your Yun family. Just what are you trying to do? Also, if you say you have an Earth Tier battle skill, then you definitely have one. Why should we believe you? Do you really think we're 3-year-olds? The woman became flustered and said, It doesn't matter if you believe me or not. It's true that I have an Earth Tier battle skill. As long as you help me destroy the Yun family, I'll definitely give it to you. Good, you damn girl. So you've been hiding it from me all this time. Suddenly, a voice filled with anger came from outside. The head of the Yin family had brought several burly men to the door. He subconsciously sized up Jianshun and the others in the room. Although Jianshun and the others were very young, the head of the Yin family did not dare to lower his guard when he thought of what the woman in the red dress had just said. "Young masters, I am the patriarch of the Yun family in Phoenix Sun City. This girl has already gone crazy. She even dared to assassinate her own father. Her words cannot be trusted at all. What earth-tier battle skill? All of this is fabricated out of thin air. It cannot be trusted. I will bring this crazy girl back now. If she has disturbed you in any way, please forgive me. Please excuse me if I disturb her," the head of the Yun family courteously said to Jianxin. He was also a clever person. From what his daughter had said earlier, he understood that the identities of the youths sitting in the room were not simple. They could not be offended. After exchanging some pleasantries with Jianxin and the others, the head of the Yun family shouted to the guard behind him, "What are you guys standing there for? Hurry up and bring the young miss back." "Yes." Several guards responded and immediately stepped forward to try to take the red dress girl back. However, just as they were about to step through the door, Dugu Feng stepped forward and blocked the guards from entering. He stared at them with a sharp gaze and said coldly, "Get out. You can't just casually step into this room." The head of the Yun family's expression changed slightly. He was even more certain that the youths in front of him were not people he dared to offend. He tactfully said, "Yes, yes, yes. Naturally, we can't just casually enter. Young master, please chase this crazy girl out and let us take her away to avoid disturbing your time." Jianxin looked at the girl calmly and said, "Young miss, please leave." The girl's expression suddenly changed. She also knew that her life depended on whether Jianxin and the others were willing to help her or not. This was because she knew that her battle skill had already been exposed. The head of the Yin family would definitely not let her go after she returned. The girl looked at Jianxin with a pleading expression and said, "I beg you to help me. In return, I will give you a high-grade Earth-tier battle skill." When he heard that it was a high-grade Earth-tier battle skill, the head of the Yin family was immediately shocked. His eyes burned with passion, but he quickly concealed it and said, "This girl is crazy. Young masters, don't listen to her nonsense. She doesn't have any battle skill at all. Don't be fooled by her." The head of the Yun family wanted to rush over and seal the girl's mouth, but Dugu Feng, who was blocking them in front of the door, made him feel incomparably fearful. "Since you have an Earth-tier battle skill, why don't you go find the other big powers in Phoenix Sun City to help you? If you use an Earth-tier battle skill as a reward, I think they would be very willing to help you," Jianxin asked in return. "In the past, I didn't have the chance, and I wasn't sure if you would really help me after accepting the Earth-tier battle skill. But now, I'm at my wit's end, and I have no other choice. Please believe me. If you really help me, I'll give you the family heirloom battle skill Traceless Clear Water that my mother passed down to me. This is a high-grade Earth-tier battle skill, and it's priceless." The girl in the red dress had a pleading expression on her face because the antidote was on her. If she was really captured, then not only would she not be able to kill the head of the Yun family to avenge her mother, but she would also be tortured in pain. She could imagine what kind of cruel methods her father would use to treat her in order to obtain the Earth-tier battle skill. Chapter 573. Jianxin's huge reaction gave everyone in the room a huge fright, especially Ming Dong, Yu Yu, and Dugu Feng, who understood Jianxin very well. They all stared at Jianxin with strange expressions, their faces filled with disbelief. After interacting with Jianxin for so long, this was the first time they had seen Jianxin lose his composure like this. Moreover, it was because of an Earth-tier battle skill that they didn't put in their eyes at all. "Jianxin, is there something wrong with the battle skill Traceless Autumn Waters?" Yu Yu's limpid eyes radiated a bright light as she stared at Jianxin and asked softly. Her soft voice was as pleasant as the chirping of a skylark, extremely pleasing to the ear. Ming Dong and Dugu Feng also looked at Jianxin with curiosity. A mere Earth-tier battle skill could actually make Jianxin, who had grasped a Heaven-tier battle skill, lose his composure like this. This made them realize that the battle skill Traceless Autumn Waters was not as simple as they had imagined. It wasn't just them. Even the red dress girl was shocked by Jianxin's huge reaction. She stared blankly at the shocked Jianxin and stood there at a loss for what to do. The Yun family head standing outside the door had a very anxious expression. He glared at the red dress girl and shouted, "You crazy girl! You actually dare to lie to people outside. These young masters are extremely intelligent. How could they be fooled by your random lies? Why aren't you coming back with me obediently?" The Yin family head was afraid that Jianxin and the others would really believe that the red dress girl had a battle skill and interfere. As soon as he finished speaking, he no longer cared if he would offend Jianxin and the others. He immediately flashed into the room and rushed towards the red dress girl, attempting to forcefully drag her out to prevent her from revealing more secrets. This time, Jianxin didn't stop the Yun family head, allowing him to smoothly charge into the room. He originally wanted to grab the red-dressed girl, but at this moment, a cold light flashed through Jianxin's eyes. He shouted in a low voice, "Who let you in? Get the hell out of here!" Jianxin pushed his right hand forward. Boundless energy of the world erupted from his palm, forming an extremely powerful shockwave that fiercely smashed into the Yun family head's body. The Yun family head was only an initial level Great Saint Master. Facing Jianxin's personal attack, how could he block it? He didn't even have time to react before his entire body was sent flying by the powerful energy shockwave. In the end, he fiercely smashed into the wall behind him, creating a hole in the sturdy wall. He flew out of the inn through this hole. While he was in midair, he violently spat out a mouthful of blood. Jianxin's control of energy was extremely ingenious. This attack only sent the Yun family head flying and didn't cause any damage to the rest of the inn. However, the power of his palm greatly frightened the Yun family head's guards and the red-dressed girl. They were completely stunned as they stared blankly at Jianxin with pale faces. They were completely horrified. The Yun family head was an initial level Great Saint Master. Even if this kind of strength couldn't be considered at the peak of Phoenix Sun City, it could still be considered first-rate. Such a powerful figure was actually sent flying by a youth who didn't even seem to be in his 20s. This kind of strength made them feel incomparably shocked. Jianxin stared closely at the red-dressed girl and urgently asked, "Do you really have the traceless clear water battle skill?" Although the red-dressed girl didn't know why Jianxin was so interested in the battle skill, she was also scared silly by Jianxin's incomparable strength. She stared blankly at Jianxin and unconsciously nodded her head. Jianxin looked at Ming Dong and said, "Ming Dong, immediately go find me a piece of paper and a pen." "Okay." Ming Dong didn't hesitate. He turned around and walked out. Soon, he obtained a piece of paper and a pen from the inn's manager and handed them to Jianxin. Jianxin threw the paper and pen onto the table and said to the red-dressed girl in a commanding tone, "Write down everything you know about the traceless clear water battle skill for me." Hearing Jianxin's irresistible words, the red-dressed girl hesitated slightly. In the end, she still didn't immediately agree. She said, "If I write it down, can you agree to my request and help me destroy the Yun family and kill the Yun family head to avenge my mother?" "I agree." This time, Jianxin agreed without any hesitation. The red-dressed girl could not help but let out a sigh of relief when she received Jianxin's confirmation. Although she would be going against her mother's warning about teaching the battle skill to outsiders, she had no other choice now that the situation had developed like this. The red-dressed girl quickly began to write on the paper. Before long, she had completely written down the battle skill and passed it to Jianxin. Jianxin received the paper and began to read it. When he finished reading the contents, the surprise on his face became greater and greater. In the end, it became deep shock. Jianxin was not unfamiliar with the battle skill because it was passed down through the Bai family. In the past, his uncle Bai Dao and his mother Bai Yuntian had both passed down the battle skill to Jianxin. However, Jianxin was unable to cultivate it because his saint weapon had been destroyed and he had lost his saint force. At the same time, he learned that the battle skill was divided into 3 levels. The first level was a human tier battle skill, the second level was an earth tier battle skill, and the third level was a heaven tier battle skill. However, What the red dress girl had written down was actually the complete first and second level of the battle skill. Not a single word was missing. It was exactly the same as what his uncle by Dao and mother by Yun Tian had passed down to him. How could Jianxin not be shocked by this? Jianxin slowly put down the paper in his hand and stared at the red-dressed girl sternly. He asked with a deep voice, "Tell me, where did you obtain this battle skill?" "That's what my mother told me." "Is there a problem with that?" The woman stared at Jianxin in doubt. Her face was filled with confusion. "What's your mother's name?" Jianxin continued to ask. Jianxin's questions stirred up the memories buried in the depths of the girl's mind. The scenes of her mother's care and concern constantly appeared in her mind, causing her to tear up uncontrollably. She sobbed, "My mother's name is Bai Yunhai." As if he had been struck by lightning, Jianxin trembled violently. The Earth Tier battle skill in his hand fell to the ground as well. He stared at the girl in disbelief and murmured somewhat absent-mindedly, "Bai Yunhai? Your mother's surname is actually Bai." "Her surname is actually Bai." Ming Dong and the others stared at Jianxin in confusion. They had no idea about the matters of the Bai family, so they had no idea about the relationship between Jianxin and the Bai family. Obviously, they had no idea just how shocked Jianxin was when he learned that the girl's mother's surname was Bai. "Brother, are you all right?" Ming Dong asked in concern. As Jianxin's best brother, Jianxin's emotions would affect him. Jianxin suppressed his churning emotions and forced himself to calm down. He shook his head gently and said, "I'm fine." As he spoke, Jianxin stared at the girl in red with interest. At that moment, the way he looked at her had completely changed. "What's your name?" Jianxin asked gently. His voice had suddenly become extremely gentle. "I'm Yin Lian," the girl in red replied. Her bright eyes stared at Jianxin in an extremely strange manner. She was filled with confusion and curiosity. She was naturally intelligent, so she obviously sensed the subtle changes in Jianxin. She was completely baffled. "Is your mother dead?" Jianxin asked. Tears uncontrollably flowed from Yun Lian's eyes again when she heard the mention of her mother. She nodded with an extremely pained expression and said nothing. Jianxin sighed inside and said, "Did your mother tell you about the Bai family?" Yun Lian raised her head and stared at Jianxin in confusion. She shook her head with tears in her eyes. She knew nothing about the Bai family. "How did your mother die?" Jianxin asked word by word. His voice became rather heavy as well. Yun Lian's eyes were filled with resentment. She gritted her teeth and said, "My mother was beaten to death by the patriarch of the Yun family." This human-faced beast was a newcomer. In order to obtain the battle skill that my mother had grasped, he forced my mother to hand it over. My mother refused, so he beat her up time and time again. My mother's body was weak, so after suffering the inhumane torture of this beast, she finally couldn't take it anymore and passed away. Yun Lian could no longer hold back her tears when she reached there. My mother died so miserably. I have to personally take revenge for my mother. I have to kill this beast with my own hands. He's worse than a beast. Although the patriarch of the Yun family was Yun Lian's father, Yun Lian had no feelings for him at all. All she felt was deep hatred. Jianxin clenched his fists tightly. His bones cracked as he used this to express the anger in his heart. "Dugu Feng, immediately bring the patriarch of the Yun family over," Jianxin said with a heavy voice with a sunken face. Dugu Feng glanced at Jianxin deeply before turning around and leaving without saying anything. Very soon, he brought over the heavily injured patriarch of the Yun family and threw him onto the cold floor without any politeness. The patriarch of the Yun family was currently extremely heavily injured after receiving Jianxin's attack. He did not even have the strength to stand up. Even an Earth Saint Master would find it difficult to endure an attack from a Heaven Saint Master, let alone a Great Saint Master. "You're worse than a beast. I'm going to bury you with my mother." Yun Lian immediately charged over and viciously kicked the patriarch of the Yun family in the head. She had hidden the grudge of her mother's death for a very long time. Now that she had found an opportunity to take revenge, the grudge that had been buried deep within her heart finally erupted. No one in the room stopped her. They all chose to watch coldly from the side. The patriarch of the Yun family had actually treated his own wife in such a manner for the sake of obtaining an Earth-tier battle skill. Such a despicable act had infuriated everyone. Chapter 574. Yun Lien crouched on the ground and cried for a long time. Only when she grew tired did she gradually stop. However, her face was still filled with grief. Jianqin glanced at Yun Lien with mixed feelings. He gently sighed inside before turning to Dugu Feng. Take the patriarch of the Yun family away. Keep an eye on him. Don't let him get away. Dugu Feng also sensed that Yun Lien and Jianqin seemed to have a special relationship. Since the patriarch of the Yun family was related to Yun Lien's revenge, he dared not be careless. He nodded sternly. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. With that, Dugu Feng walked out of the room with the mud-like patriarch of the Yun family. Jianqin looked at Yun Lien. After a moment of hesitation, he said, Come with me to the kingdom of Jessen. Yun Lien was slightly surprised when she heard that Jianqin wanted to take her to the kingdom of Jessen. She suppressed her grief and raised her head to look at Jianqin in confusion. She asked, Why do I have to go with you to the kingdom of Jessen? I'm going to confirm something. Perhaps your family will still be there. Jianqin said softly. He was filled with mixed feelings. Who would have thought that the woman in red he had seen a few days ago could be a member of the Bai family? My family? Yun Lien murmured. Then she shook her head in pain. No, I have no family. My only family is my mother. Unfortunately, she passed away many years ago. As for my father, he's worse than an animal. He's not fit to be my father. I have to kill him personally to avenge my mother. Yun Lien was filled with pain. Jianqin slowly walked up to Yun Lien and said again, Come with me to the kingdom of Jessen. There's something I need to confirm. It's related to your mother. Related to my mother? What is it? Yun Lien's eyes lit up. She was clearly very concerned about this matter. I can't tell you right now. You'll understand when we arrive at the kingdom of Jessen, Jianqin said sternly. Yun Lien hesitated. Since this matter was related to her deceased mother, she could not remain indifferent. After a moment of hesitation, Yun Lien finally nodded in agreement to Jianqin's suggestion. She said gently, All right, I'll go with you to the kingdom of Jessen. If that's the case, let's go right now. Jianqin said rather eagerly. Afterward, he looked at Ming Dong and the others and said, I need to return to the kingdom of Jessen immediately. You can stay here for now. Once I return, crush this piece of jade if you come across any problems that you can't resolve. With that, Jianqin passed a piece of the mother-son twin stone to Ming Dong. This was a special piece of jade that was most widely used on the Tianyuan continent. Once one of them shattered, the other would shatter at the same time, no matter how far away it was. It would serve as some sort of signal to the other party. Ming Dong and the others also knew that there was more to this matter than met the eye. It was already beyond their imagination, so they didn't say anything. Ming Dong accepted the piece of jade from Jianqin and said sternly, Brother, come back soon. Jianqin nodded. After bidding farewell to everyone, he arrived beside Yun Lien and said, Is there anything else you need to do? If there's nothing else, let's set off right now. I'm fine. It's just that we're very far away from the kingdom of Jessen. Don't you need to make some preparations? Yun Lien asked. There's no need. We'll get there very soon, Jianqin said. Afterward, he arrived beside Yun Lien and grabbed her arm. With a thought, surging wind elemental energy immediately gathered, enveloping the two of them. Before Yun Lien could react, the surging wind elemental energy carried Jianqin and Yun Lien out of the window. They shot into the sky as a faint azure streak of light. They moved so quickly that no one on the street could see them clearly. The sudden increase in altitude caused Yun Lien, who had experienced flying for the first time, to let out a cry of surprise. Her face turned pale with fright. When she regained her senses, she could only hear the whistling of the wind in her ears, causing her waist-long hair to flutter violently. Under her feet, the huge Phoenix City was rapidly shrinking. In just a few breaths, it had become the size of a sandbox. It was easy to see the entire city's appearance. The people on the streets had already become much smaller than ants, making it very difficult to see them clearly. Yun Lien stared blankly at the city that had shrunk countless times below her. Her eyes were filled with shock. At that moment, she could not be any more shocked. She was extremely shocked. The city of Fengyang rapidly flew away. It did not take long for it to completely disappear from the horizon. The scenery on the ground gradually faded as well. In the end, it was covered by white clouds. Jianshan had already flown above the clouds with Yun Lien. As far as the eye could see, the surroundings were filled with a sea of white clouds. It was boundless and could not be seen at all. Only after long, while did Yun Lien return to her senses. Her beautiful eyes were wide open as she stared at Jianshan's handsome face in disbelief. She covered her mouth with her other hand and cried out, Why? Actually a peak heaven Saint Master." At that moment, Yun Lian's heart was in turmoil. Heaven Saint Masters were peak experts on the Tianyuan continent. They stood at the apex of the pyramid. Even in a kingdom, an expert like that would have a lofty status. They would enjoy supreme glory. Even the ruler of a kingdom would have to be polite to them. They would not dare to slight them at all. This was because their existence represented the peak of power in a kingdom. The prosperity and decline of a kingdom completely depended on the strength of a Heaven Saint Master. Yun Lian had never imagined that this young man, who was only in his 20s, would actually be a peak Heaven Saint Master. In the eyes of ordinary people, he was an existence akin to a god. Although the Yun family was a small family, Yun Lian was naturally extremely intelligent as the daughter of the Yun family. She obviously understood what a Heaven Saint Master represented. As long as there was a Heaven Saint Master present, even a small, unknown clan would be able to become one of the most powerful clans in the kingdom. Yun Lian gently covered her mouth with her hand as she blankly stared at Jianshan. She was unable to return to her senses even after a long while. A Heaven Saint Master was just far too shocking to her. Jianshan could not help but smile when he saw Yun Lian's shocked expression. However, he did not explain anything. He continued on his way as quickly as he could, eager to return to the Chanyang prefecture as soon as possible so that he could verify Yun Lian's identity. Under Jianshan's full speed, they returned to the kingdom of Jessen in just 6 hours. He did not stop at all, directly heading to Lore City. Another hour passed just like that. Jianshan finally arrived at Lore City with Yun Lian. The city walls in the distance were clearly visible. They could even see a large number of tents neatly set up outside the city. Banners with the word Qin fluttered in the wind. During this time, Yun Lian had slowly calmed down. Looking at the encampment that stretched for 5 kilometers, she asked curiously, "Is it the army of the Qin Emperor?" "Correct. An army of 500,000 from the Qin Empire is stationed there. They are known as the Eastern Sword Legion and are one of the most elite armies of the Qin Empire," Jianshan explained. "The city up ahead must be the famous Lore City. Looks like the rumors are true. The Qin Empire really does have an extraordinary relationship with the Chanyang prefecture. Even their army is stationed outside Lore City," Yun Lian murmured. Her eyes were filled with envy. The Qin Empire was one of the 8 great kingdoms of the Tianyuan continent. The kingdom of Jessen had truly become the ruler of the region with the support of the Qin Empire. No one dared to provoke them. Jianshan flew very quickly, shooting through the sky like an azure meteor. Before Yun Lian could memorize the landscape, he had already flown into Lore City and landed before a huge mansion. It was the Chanyang prefecture. "Come in with me." Jianshan loosened his grip on Yun Lian's shoulder and called out to her before striding toward the entrance of the Chanyang prefecture. Yun Lian subconsciously studied the mansion before her, but when she saw the words Chanyang prefecture written on the plaque above the entrance, she immediately paled in fright. Although she had always lived in Fengyang City, she knew extremely well what had happened in the kingdom of Jessen, especially in Chanyang prefecture. Although Chanyang prefecture had always kept a low profile in the kingdom of Jessen, the strength of Chanyang prefecture had been completely exposed to the world after the invasion of the kingdom of Jessen by the 4 kingdoms. Afterwards, 10 Heaven Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had attacked, but they had been successfully repelled by Chanyang prefecture. They had even killed several experts on the spot. Such glorious battle skills had pushed Chanyang prefecture's prestige to the peak. They had become the publicly acknowledged strongest clan in the kingdom of Jessen, completely replacing the Huayan sect and even suppressing the imperial family. The status of such a huge clan was far greater than that of the tiny Yun family in Fengyang City. In front of such a clan, even the three great clans of Fengyang City were as weak as ants. In the eyes of outsiders, Chanyang Prefecture had already become a huge power that surpassed the imperial family. Yunlian had never thought that there would be a day when she would stand outside the gates of Chanyang Prefecture. This was a huge clan that she could only look up to. Yunlian hurriedly grabbed onto Jinshin and said worriedly, "This is Chanyang Prefecture. Why did you bring me here? Did you go to the wrong place?" Jinshin smiled and said, "Don't worry, there won't be any problems. Just follow me in." With that, Jinshin brought Yunlian to the gates nearby. Seeing Jinshin's arrival, the two guards at the gates of Chanyang Prefecture immediately revealed a look of admiration and respect. They stood even straighter like a pole. When Jinshin passed by them, the two guards simultaneously bowed and said loudly, "Greetings, fourth young master." Chapter 575. Yunlian's eyes widened as she stared at Jinshin in shock. The name of the fourth young master of the Chanyang Prefecture, Changyang Shoten, had already been known by everyone in the region. He was the idol of countless youths, the goal they pursued. This was because not only was he a heaven saint master, but he was also the imperial protector of the kingdom of Jessen. Both of his identities were enough to make people look up to him. Being enveloped by the halos of these two honors, Jinshin had already become a godlike figure in the eyes of many youths. He stood high above the vast land, mighty and inviolable. Jinshin smiled when he saw the shock on Yunlian's face and said, "Come in with me." With that, Jinshin brought the shocked Yunlian into Chanyang Prefecture. "So you're the fourth young master of the Chanyang Prefecture, Chanyang Shoten. I should have thought of it a long time ago. Aside from the fourth young master of the Chanyang Prefecture, who else can become a heaven saint master at such a young age?" Yunlian murmured. Her gaze toward Jinshin was filled with admiration. After the reconstruction of the Chanyang Prefecture, the scenery was even more beautiful. Compared to before, the difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. Even the security within the prefecture had become tighter. Groups of guards could be seen at any time, patrolling the Chanyang Prefecture in an imposing manner. Their faces were filled with unconcealable pride. To them, it seemed like being able to serve as guards of the Chanyang Prefecture was an unparalleled honor. It was something that would bring honor to their ancestors. The fourth young master of the Chanyang Prefecture had undoubtedly become the person with the highest status in the Chanyang Prefecture. Wherever Jinshin passed by, all the guards who recognized him would bow and greet him. They were extremely respectful. Passing through Chanyang Prefecture, Yunlian curiously observed the scenery of Chanyang Prefecture. However, she was not as calm as she seemed on the surface. She was extremely excited. The Chanyang Prefecture was an unreachable peak clan in her eyes. She had never thought that there would be a day when she would personally visit the Chanyang Prefecture. Jinshin passed through Chanyang Prefecture with Yunlian without any obstructions. They headed straight for the room of his mother, Bai Yuntian. Very soon, Jinshin arrived in front of Bai Yuntian's room. When the two maids outside saw Jinshin arrive, they were immediately shocked. They hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings to the fourth young master. Is my mother inside?" Jinshin asked the two maids. Reporting to the fourth young master, "Madam is resting inside." One of the maids said respectfully. As soon as the voice fell, the door was suddenly opened. Bai Yuntian, who was wearing a white robe, appeared in front of Jinshin. When she saw Jinshin, she suddenly became happy. "Xiang, when did you come back? Why didn't you tell me?" Bai Yuntian looked at Jinshin with doting eyes. She loved her son very much. Her son was so outstanding, which made her feel very proud. Yunlian curiously looked at the graceful and luxurious Bai Yuntian and thought, "Is this Chanyang Shoten's mother? Strange, why does she look a little like my mother?" Looking at his mother's affectionate gaze, Jinshin felt a surge of warmth in his heart. He smiled and said, "Mother, I actually have something important to tell you this time. Let's talk inside." Then, Jianshun brought Yun Lian into the room and sat down at an expensive table in the living room. As soon as the three of them sat down, Bai Yun Tian couldn't help but ask, Xiang who is this little girl? While speaking, Bai Yun Tian picked up the teapot and personally poured tea for the two of them. Her face was full of motherly radiance. Jianshun slightly turned his head and looked at Yun Lian, who was sitting there very awkwardly. He said, Mother, she is called Yun Lian. She is from the Blue Wind Kingdom, but I think you should know her mother. Oh, who is it? Mother has always stayed in Chanyang Prefecture and rarely goes out. I don't know many people. Bai Yun Tian chuckled. Jianshun hesitated for a moment. His eyes stared at Bai Yun Tian and said, Mother, do you know someone called Bai Yun Hai? Clang. As soon as Jianshun's voice fell, the teapot in Bai Yun Tian's hand fell on the table. All the tea poured out and quickly spread across the table. Bai Yun Tian didn't seem to notice that her clothes were slowly soaked by the tea poured on the table. She looked at Jianshun with an extremely excited expression and said in a trembling voice, What did you say, Xiang Could it be that you have seen Sister Yun Hai? Is she still alive? Where is she now? Bai Yun Tian's trembling voice was full of urgency. Seeing Bai Yun Tian's big reaction, Jianshun was completely certain of his guess. Yun Lian's mother was indeed from the Bai family. Moreover, she seemed to have a very good relationship with his mother. Yun Lian heard every word of Bai Yun Tian's words clearly. However, she felt very confused because she didn't know when her mother had a relationship with the madam of Chanyang Prefecture. Jianshun sighed secretly. He could imagine how sad Bai Yun Tian would be when she found out that Yun Lian's mother had passed away. Mother, Yun Lian is Bai Yun Hai's daughter. Moreover, she also knows our Bai family's family heirloom battle technique, Traceless by Water. Jianshun said, with a complicated expression. Bai Yun Tian's gaze immediately fell on Yun Lian. She carefully sized up Yun Lian before slowly approaching Yun Lian. She affectionately grabbed Yun Lian's hands and said excitedly, So you're Sister Yun Hai's daughter. You really do look a bit like Sister Yun Hai back then. Lian quickly tell Auntie, where is your mother now? Has she been well all these years? When the word aunt entered Yun Lian's ears, her mind instantly went blank. The mother of the fourth madam of Chanyang Prefecture, the imperial protector of the kingdom of Jessen, Chanyang Shoten, was actually her aunt. This sudden change stunned Yun Lian on the spot. She couldn't react for a long time. Bai Yun Tian looked at Yun Lian with a gentle gaze. There was a hint of doting in her eyes, as if Yun Lian was her own daughter. Lian, tell aunt, where's your mother now? Has she been well all these years? Bai Yun Tian said in a sobbing voice. She was so emotional that she couldn't control her tears anymore. When she heard about her mother, the grief that she had suppressed with great difficulty surfaced in her heart again. Yun Lian's eyes also flowed with sorrowful tears. She sobbed and said, My mother is already dead. The expression on Bai Yun Tian's face suddenly froze. He looked at Yun Lian in disbelief and said involuntarily, What? Sister Yun Hai, she. Bai Yun Tian staggered and fell to the ground. Mother, be careful. Jianshun cried out in alarm. His figure flashed, and he arrived beside Bai Yun Tian. He carefully helped Bai Yun Tian to a chair and slowly sat down. He looked at his mother's sorrowful face with concern and comforted her. Mother, don't be too sad. After all, it's been so long. Tears of grief flowed endlessly from her eyes like a fountain. Bai Yun Tian's expression changed from surprise to grief in an instant. She sobbed. Lian, tell aunt, how did your mother die? Afterwards, Yun Lian told Bai Yun Tian the whole story. When she heard that Yun Lian's mother, Bai Yun Hai, had been beaten to death by a small Yun family patriarch for the sake of obtaining the Bai family's heirloom battle record, her expression became even more sorrowful. In the end, she couldn't help but sob bitterly. Sister Yun Hai, you died so miserably. It's all Sister's fault for being useless. If Sister had known earlier that you were still alive, then you wouldn't have had to suffer like this. Sister has let you down. Bai Yun Tian cried out in pain. Her back was extremely painful. Aunt, could it be that you know my mother? Yun Lian also asked the question in her heart while crying. Bai Yun Tian said, Lian, in the past, your mother was my best sister. We were all direct descendants of the Bai family. Your grandfather and my father were brothers of the same father and mother. However, ever since our Bai family suffered a great calamity, many people died, including your grandfather and my father. They were all killed by a group of mysterious people. Only my brother and I were lucky enough to escape. We originally thought that only me and my brother were left in the Bai family. Who would have thought that Sister Yunhai had also successfully escaped? It's a pity that I found out too late. Otherwise, Sister Yunhai wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable state. Once she thought of how Yun Lian's mother, Bai Yunhai, was beaten to death, Bai Yuntian's heart was filled with incomparable grief. She couldn't imagine how much her sister had suffered and how much inhumane torture she had suffered. Sister Yunhai has suffered too much these past few years. I must personally avenge her and kill that person who is worse than a beast. Bai Yuntian's eyes flashed with hatred as she gnashed her teeth and said, "So you really are my aunt." Yun Lian's eyes were filled with tears as she stared blankly at Bai Yuntian. Bai Yuntian nodded and said, "Lian I am your aunt. This is Chanyang Shoten, your brother." Yun Lian's entire body became sluggish. She couldn't accept the sudden change of identity in a short period of time. The fourth madam of Chanyang Prefecture was actually her aunt. The imperial protector of the kingdom of Jessen, the fourth young master of Chanyang Prefecture, Chanyang Shoten, was actually her brother. If this was in the past, Yun Lian wouldn't even dare to think about it. Chanyang Shoten, who she used to admire and be curious about, was actually her brother. Chapter 576. Suddenly having a younger sister made Jianshin's feelings become somewhat complicated. He didn't know if he should be happy or worried. However, Jianshin still felt a burst of joy in his heart. It was fortunate that he hadn't directly chased Yun Lian out of the inn. Otherwise, he didn't dare imagine what kind of treatment Yun Lian would have received. Since the patriarch of the Yun family knew that the battle skill was in Yun Lian's head, would he treat his daughter the same way he treated Yun Lian's mother in order to obtain the Earth rank battle skill? After all, to a small family like the Yun family, an Earth rank battle skill was just too important. Perhaps Yun Lian's mother didn't want her daughter to feel too much pressure, so she didn't tell Yun Lian anything about the Bai family. Only after meeting Jianshin did she understand more about her mother's identity. Although Bai Yuntian was very sad about Bai Yunhai's death, she had left her daughter behind. This made Bai Yuntian feel somewhat comforted. She treated Yun Lian as if she was her own son. Although she wasn't the one who gave birth to her, she completely treated Yun Lian as her own daughter. She was full of love and care for her. Afterwards, Bai Yuntian slowly told Yun Lian about the Bai family. Yun Lian finally understood that her mother had never told her about her past. However, she never would have thought that her deceased mother was actually a direct descendant of a large family. The three of them stayed in the room for over 2 hours before the grief in their hearts gradually subsided. "Xiang this is your younger sister. Now that you have the ability, you must protect your younger sister well. Don't let her suffer anymore. She has already endured a lot of pain these past few years," Bai Yuntian said to Jianshin. Jianshin had a serious expression. He nodded solemnly and promised, "Mother, don't worry. I will definitely protect Yun Lian well. In the future, I won't let Yun Lian suffer the slightest grievance." Yun Lian's emotions became extremely mixed when she heard Jianshin's words. She felt like everything was a dream, unreal. Only 4 hours had passed since then, yet her identity had changed so drastically. She actually found it rather difficult to accept this, as she was completely unprepared. The imperial protector of the kingdom of Jessen, Chanyang Shoten, used to be the person she admired the most in her heart. He was an unreachable existence that she could only look up to, but now he had suddenly become her brother, and even vowed to protect her and not let her suffer any grievances. This huge change in status made Yun Lian feel as if she had fallen into a dream. Bai Yuntian took Yun Lian's hand affectionately and said, "Lian your beastly father treated you and your mother like that. There's no need for you to be surnamed Yun. Since you're a member of the Bai family, why don't you change your surname to Bai from today onwards? You'll be called by Lian. From today onwards, You'll be a member of the Changyang Prefecture and have nothing to do with the Yun family. Yun Lian hesitated slightly when she heard this, but finally nodded and said softly, Auntie, I'll listen to you. But will the rest of the people in Changyang Prefecture exclude me? Yun Lian's face revealed a trace of worry as she spoke. Bai Yuntian smiled. All right. From now on, you'll be called Bai Lian. Lianer, don't worry. With your brother's protection, no one will dare to bully you from now on. As for the rest of the people in Changyang Prefecture, you don't have to worry about them at all. This is because in the eyes of outsiders, the most powerful person in Changyang Prefecture is the head of the family and the retired elders. But in the prefecture, your brother is the one with the most authority. No one dares to disobey him, not even the king of the kingdom of Jessen. Bai Yuntian's words immediately shocked Bai Lian. She looked at Jianshun in astonishment. Although she knew that Jianshun held a high position in the kingdom of Jessen, she didn't expect him to have such authority in the family as well. He was above the head of the family and all the elders. Bai Yuntian pulled Bai Lian's hand and stood up. Lianer, it's getting late. Let's go eat first. I'll introduce you to Uncle and Changbo. When we have time, I'll take you to the palace to meet your uncle. Your uncle is currently the commander of the guards in the palace. Unless there's something important, he won't come here. Hearing that her uncle was the commander of the guards in the kingdom of Jessen, Bai Lian understood that in just a few hours, her status had undergone a tremendous change. She was no longer the young miss of the Yun family. However, this identity came too suddenly, and he didn't have much time. It was very difficult for her to adapt. If only my mother could have reunited with Aunt earlier. That way, my mother wouldn't have passed away, Bai Lian thought to herself. Afterward, Jianxin and his mother brought Bai Lian to the dining hall. At the dining table, Bai Lian met the head of the family and the other aunts in Changyang Prefecture. Bai Yuntian also told everyone about Bai Lian's status. However, she didn't talk about the Bai family in detail. She only said that she was the daughter of her long-lost good sister. Everyone accepted Bai Lian's status happily. No one had any objections. All of this was because she had an outstanding son. Everyone at the dining table ate to their heart's content. Whether it was Changyang Ba, Ling Long, a second aunt, Yufeng Yin, they all treated Bai Lian very warmly. The only one who was a little unnatural was Bai Yushuang. As for Jianshun, he didn't even bother to greet his third aunts. His third aunts had always been against him since they were young. Especially when he had just returned to Changyang Prefecture, his third aunt's words angered Jianshun to the point where he could no longer tolerate them. If not for the fact that she was his aunt, Jianshun wouldn't have let her off so easily. After the meal, Bai Yuntian dragged Bai Lian to her room while Jianshun returned to his palace-like building to rest alone. The night passed quickly. The next morning, Jianshun bid farewell to Changyang Ba and brought Bai Yuntian and Bai Lian along as they flew out of Changyang Prefecture, heading straight for the Blue Wind Kingdom. Bai Yuntian clearly hated the murderer who killed her sister, Bai Yunhai. No matter what, she wanted Jianshun to bring her along to the Blue Wind Kingdom to personally avenge her sister. Jianshun couldn't persuade her, so he could only helplessly bring his mother along to the Blue Wind Kingdom. After a few hours of flight, Jianshun once again returned to the inn in the Blue Wind Kingdom's Phoenix City. It just so happened that Ming Dong, Yu Yu, Tai Ta, and Dugafeng were all there. When they saw Jianshun return so quickly, they were all very happy. However, when they noticed Bai Yuntian beside Jianshun, they were all stunned. Ah, Auntie, why did you come here personally? Yu Yu stared at the white-clothed, graceful and luxurious Bai Yuntian. She was very surprised. Bai Yuntian smiled and exchanged a few words with Yu Yu before looking at Jianshun and somewhat impatiently asking, Xiang, where's the murderer who killed Sister Yunhai? Jianshun said to Dugu Feng, go and bring the Yun family's patriarch here. Very soon, the haggard Yun family's patriarch was brought over by Dugu Feng. When she saw the murderer who killed her sister, Bai Yuntian could no longer maintain her usual composure. She stepped forward and kicked the Yun family's patriarch. Her expression was incomparably furious. You're worse than a beast. It's your fortune that Sister Yunhai was willing to follow you. Instead of cherishing her, You actually treated her like this and beat her to death. I want you to pay for her with your life. Bai Yuntian cursed as she beat the patriarch. When she thought about how Sister Yunhai, who was very close to her since childhood, was beaten to death by this person in front of her, her heart was filled with incomparable grief. Wen Ming Dong, Yu Yu, Dugu Feng, and Tai Ta saw Bai Yuntian's actions, they were all dumbfounded. The four of them stood there and stared at each other. They didn't understand what was going on at all. Yun Lian, who had lost her mother, was unable to control herself either. She constantly kicked the Yun family's patriarch's head as she cursed. "Stop hitting me, Lian. I'm your father. Although I've done things that your mother didn't deserve, you can't treat me like this. I'm your father after all. I was wrong. I apologize to you, okay? Please forgive me. If you don't give me the antidote, I'll be poisoned to death by you." The Yin family's patriarch held his head as he lay on the ground and begged for mercy. He was already heavily injured, and the poison had spread throughout his body. He had even lost the most basic ability to move. The only way to survive was to get his daughter to hand over the antidote. "You're not worthy to be my father. I don't have a father who's worse than a beast like you. From now on, my surname is no longer Yun, but Bai," Bai Lian cried out with tears in her eyes. The two of them beat up the Yun family's patriarch for a while, before finally stopping, panting slightly. "Lian, take your aunt to see your mother's grave," said Bai Yuntian. Bai Lian nodded slightly before leaving the inn with the others. They walked out of the city, leaving the patriarch to Dugu Feng. Soon, the group arrived at a small forest outside of Fengyang City and saw Bai Yunhai's grave. The grave was very simple. There was only a small mound and a tombstone that was half the height of a person. On the tombstone, the words "Bai Yunhai's grave" were clearly engraved. Chapter 577. Bai Yuntian crouched in front of Bai Yunhai's grave and gently touched the cold, hard gravestone. Large droplets of tears flowed from her eyes. She seemed to be in great pain. In her mind, she couldn't help but recall the events from more than 20 years ago. At that time, she and Bai Yunhai were the best of sisters. They played together happily every day and were practically inseparable. If there was something fun to do, they would play together. If there was something delicious to eat together, they would enjoy it together. They would never enjoy it alone. "Sister Yunhai, it's all my fault. It's all because of my incompetence. If I had known earlier that you had escaped, then you wouldn't have ended up like this. My sister Yunhai, you've suffered too much these years, even after your death. Even your tombstone is so simple. It's all because I didn't take good care of you," said Bai Yuntian while sobbing. Her heart was filled with grief. "Mother, I'll be able to avenge you very soon. I'll definitely kill that thing that's worse than a beast with my own hands." "Mother, rest in peace," Bai Lian sobbed as she knelt before the grave. Jian Shun felt his heart ache when he saw how pained the two of them were. He stood there silently. Ming Dong, Yu Yu, and Tai Ta all became extremely surprised. They had no idea what had happened at all. Why had Bai Lian's mother suddenly become Bai Yuntian's sister? After a moment of hesitation, Yu Yu finally could not hold back anymore. She asked Jianshun softly, "Jianshun, what happened? What's going on?" Jianshun gently sighed. "Yunlian's mother and my mother were the best of friends when they were young. Yunlian is no longer called Yunlian, but Bai Lian. At the same time, she's my sister." Ming Dong and Yu Yu's jaws dropped when they heard that. Disbelief filled their faces. "What? The young lady of the Yun family is actually your sister?" Yu Yu said in shock. "This is unbelievable." Ming Dong also stared at Bai Lian, who was sobbing in front of the grave, in great surprise. His gaze was extremely complicated as well. He never would have thought that the young lady of the Yun family, who had clashed with him a few days ago, would actually be Jianshun's sister. Jianshun looked at the crying Bai Yuntian with a heavy heart. After hesitating for a moment, he came to Bai Yuntian's side and gently squatted down. He comforted her. "Mother, don't be too sad. The dead can't be brought back to life. Moreover, Auntie Yunhai has been dead for more than 10 years. Bai Yuntian wiped away her tears and choked with sobs. "Sister Yunhai, you've been alone here for over a decade. You must be very lonely. Don't worry, now that I've found you, I'll take you away no matter what. Come back to the Changyang clan with me. I'll accompany you every day in the future, so you won't be lonely anymore." As she spoke, Bai Yun Tian climbed to the back of the grave and began to dig at the simple grave with her hands. Large drops of tears fell from her eyes and landed on the grave, slowly wetting the hard, dry soil. After more than 10 years of wind and rain, the soil on the burial mound had become very hard under the scorching sun. Bai Yun Tian used her tender fingers to dig a few times before her fingers were scratched by the hard soil, and bright red blood flowed out. However, Bai Yun Tian didn't seem to feel it at all. She couldn't feel the piercing pain from her injured fingers rubbing against the hard soil. She continued to use her hands to push away the grave, vowing to take her sister away from here. Seeing this, Jianshan's heart ached. He quickly went forward to grab Bai Yun Tian's hands and said in a pleading tone, "Mother, don't be like this. Quickly stop. Let me do this. You can stand aside and rest." Bai Yun Tian shook her head and cried, "No, I must save Sister Bai Hai with my own hands. I must accompany Sister Bai Hai and bring her back to Changyang Prefecture." Bai Yun Tian dug even harder. Her slender, jade-like fingers were already stained with mud. Bright red blood continuously flowed out from her fingertips, dyeing the mud red. "Mother, let me help you." Jianshan couldn't persuade her, so he could only go along with Bai Yun Tian's wishes. He then started digging as well. He worked hard at the grave in front of him, trying to relieve Bai Yun Tian's pain. Bai Lian crawled over from a grave and joined the two's actions. The three of them used their own hands to dig as hard as they could. "Mother, your daughter is incompetent to let you live alone in this desolate place for more than 10 years. However, Mother will soon have a new home. Moreover, Aunt will accompany you by your side. Mother will not be alone in the future. Let me do my part for Auntie." Seeing the actions of the three of them, Yu, who was standing at the side, was moved as well. Tears of sorrow flowed down her cheeks. Then, she came to the grave and knelt down, using her white and tender fingers to dig at the soil. Ming Dong looked at this scene with a complicated expression. He didn't say anything. He followed Yu and silently knelt in front of the grave. He dug his hands deep into the soil and joined in the digging. In the end, even Tai Ta took the initiative to join in. With everyone working together, they quickly dug open the grave. Then, they dug another 2 meters deep before they finally saw a completely black coffin. "Mother." Bai Lian's longing and pain completely erupted when she saw the coffin. She cried out in extreme grief. If it weren't for Jianshan stopping her in time, she probably would have jumped down and hugged the wooden coffin. Jianshan's heart became even more pained when he saw the muddy wooden coffin. He sighed inside, and with a thought, he controlled the energy of the world to lift the wooden coffin from the ground. He carefully placed it on a flat surface. Bai Yun Tian arrived before the wooden coffin and used her bloodied hands to slowly wipe away the soil. She looked so careful, as if she was wiping away a supreme treasure. "Sister Yinhai, it's been over 20 years in the blink of an eye. Do you still remember me?" "I'm your big sister Yun Tian," Bai Yun Tian murmured. "Sister Yinhai, come home with me. I'll be by your side every day, so you won't be lonely. Okay?" Bai Lian lay on the coffin and sobbed. She didn't care about the slippery soil on the coffin at all. The tears in her eyes seemed like they would never run out. They gushed out fiercely, and her beautiful eyes were red and swollen from crying. "Mother," Bai Lian, "let's hurry up and move Annie's coffin into the city. Annie has spent over 10 years alone in the wilderness. I'm sure she's tired of this place," Jianshan comforted. This time, neither Bai Yun Tian nor Yun Lian objected. They both agreed with Jianshan's suggestion. Afterwards, Jianshan personally carried Bai Yun Tian's coffin on his shoulder and left with the others. Jianshan carried a coffin covered in mud as he walked towards Phoenix City. Along the way, he attracted the strange gazes of all the passers-by. They stared at the group of people with strange gazes as they discussed amongst themselves. "Do you think that person is crazy? Do you see that coffin? It's covered in mud. It must have just been dug out from the ground. Is he going to take it into the city? Doesn't he know that coffins are forbidden in all the cities? They definitely don't know about this rule. Just watch. They'll definitely be stopped by the guards." Many mercenaries and merchants pointed at Jianshan's group and laughed mockingly. Jianshan walked at the front with the coffin on his shoulder. He walked straight towards Fengyang City and soon arrived at the city gate. At this moment, a soldier walked over and blocked Jianshan's path. When he saw that Jianshan was carrying a coffin, he was certain that Jianshan was a pauper who couldn't even afford carriage. Therefore, his attitude was not polite at all. He said arrogantly, "Stop. Our Fengyang City prohibits coffins from entering the city. If you want to enter the city, scram." However, before he could finish speaking, he was stopped by Jianshan's shout. Then, Jianshan kicked the soldier's chest without hesitation, sending him flying through the air. "Someone is causing trouble here. Hurry up and capture him." It was as if they had poked a hornet's nest. Even more soldiers ran over with weapons in hand. On the city walls, there was even a row of soldiers with crossbows aimed at Jianshan. Jianshan was already in a bad mood today. Now that he was being harassed by these soldiers, the killing intent in his heart was aroused. Looking at the surrounding soldiers, his eyes instantly became cold. A strong killing intent spread out from his body, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. The surrounding people even felt as if they had fallen into an ice cavern, chilling them from head to toe. Now, only our city lord is an Earth Saint Master. However, the strength of those young people really is abnormal. They are clearly younger than me, but they are much stronger than me. One of them is even a 6-cycle Earth Saint Master. He is only a step away from becoming a Heaven Saint Master. It's unbelievable. I just don't know which P clan they are from. The guard's eyes were filled with envy. At this moment, a strong killing intent came from outside, immediately bringing the general who was immersed in his memories back to reality. Sensing the intensity of the murderous aura, the general of the city guards turned pale with fright. He immediately stood up from his chair and exclaimed, "What a strong, murderous aura! Who is it?" Before he could finish speaking, the general of the city guards ran out in a panic. Chapter 578. Author's note: just now, I saw some readers in the book review section saying that the article was not connected. Xiaoyao went to check and found that the order of the chapters was correct, but the content was updated incorrectly. Now it has been fixed. Sorry. Without the commander's order, the soldiers who were charging towards Jianshan had already stopped. Their eyes were filled with fear as they stared fearfully at Jianshan, who was carrying a coffin. The intense killing intent emanating from Jianshan's body terrified the soldiers. They no longer had the arrogance they had before. The commander was afraid that these soldiers would anger Jianshan and cause Jianshan to start another massacre at the gates of Fengyang City. Thus, he did not dare to hesitate and immediately jumped down from the city wall. He jogged all the way to Jianshan. When he saw Jianshan's gloomy expression, his heart became very uneasy and his entire body trembled slightly. The young man in front of him was a powerful figure who did not even fear the Harito family. With Fengyang City's current strength, he was someone they could not afford to offend. "Young master, please calm down, please calm down. It's all because of my lack of discipline that my subordinates offended young master. However, I will definitely severely punish those bastards who offended young master. I hope that young master won't hold a grudge against them and won't lower yourself to their level." The general who was guarding the city hurriedly apologized to Jianshan. He had a charming smile on his face and a respectful attitude. He was afraid that he would accidentally offend this powerful figure and bring disaster to Fengyang City. The commander carefully observed Jianshan's expression, then immediately turned his head to look at the surrounding soldiers. Facing these soldiers, he would not be as respectful as facing Jianshan. His face suddenly darkened, and the aura of a superior exploded. He shouted sternly, "You bunch of blind bastards! How dare you be so rude to young master? Are you tired of living? Who offended young master just now? Stand out and apologize to young master immediately." The group of soldiers hesitated for a moment. In the end, a pale-faced soldier staggered out from behind. There was a clear footprint on his chest. It was the soldier who had been kicked out by Jianshan. The commander immediately walked over and kicked the soldier's butt. He scolded, "Hurry up and kneel down and apologize to young master." The commander's kick was extremely powerful, causing the soldier to fall to the ground. His entire body was at Jinshin's feet. However, there was no anger on the soldier's face. There was only deep fear. Now that things had developed to this point, he understood that he had offended someone he should not have. "Young master, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. I was blind and delayed your precious matters. Please be magnanimous and forgive me," the soldier said as he knelt beside Jinshin. He was so regretful that his intestines turned green. Jinshin's face darkened as he stared coldly at the soldier. Today's events had already made his mood very heavy and his temper very bad. Earlier, when he was stopped by this soldier while carrying Ant by Yunhai's coffin into the city, Jinshin really wanted to kill him. If it were not for the commander's timely apology, there would have been rivers of blood flowing in front of the city gates. At this moment, Yu sat up from behind and gently pulled on Jinshin's left arm. She said gently, "Jinshin, forget it. Don't bother about these small matters." Yu's words caused the killing intent emitted from Jinshin's body to slowly recede. He stared coldly at the soldier kneeling in front of him and shouted, "Scram!" Seeing that things had finally calmed down, the commander let out a huge sigh of relief. Then he grabbed the soldier's clothes and threw him to the side. He said angrily, "Why aren't you scramming? Don't block the young master's path." Afterwards, he immediately put on a smile and invited Jinshin in with great enthusiasm. "Young master, please enter the city. I won't take up any more of your precious time. Have a safe trip, young master." Although Fengyang City had a rule that prohibited bringing coffins and other unlucky items into the city, the commander did not dare to mention this in front of Jinshin. He enthusiastically invited Jinshin in with great respect, as if he was afraid of offending him in some way. Jinshin did not say anything. He carried Ant by Yunhai's coffin into the city expressionlessly with a pained expression. Behind him, by Yuntian, Yu, Mingdong, Tai Ta, and Bai Lian all followed behind with pained expressions. As the few of them entered the city, the congested city gate finally cleared up. Although there were many people blocking the entrance, the entire place was silent. Everyone looked at Jinshin and the others with complicated and curious gazes. Their hearts were still in shock and could not calm down for a long time. In the eyes of these mercenaries and merchants, the guards of every city were not to be offended. Although these guards were not as strong as some mercenaries, they represented the official forces of the Blue Wind Kingdom. If there was a conflict with them, and if they did not have a strong background, they could only wait to be hunted down by the Blue Wind Kingdom. As for the young man who carried the coffin, not only did he injure the guards, even the commander of the guards had to personally apologize to him. This scene caused everyone to speculate in their hearts. They did not know just who the young man who carried the coffin was to actually cause the commander of the guards to be so afraid of him. Jinshin carried the muddy coffin as he swaggered through the streets, attracting everyone's attention. Wherever Jinshin passed by, the people around him would all stop and look back curiously. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Carrying a coffin into the city was an extremely rare thing in Fengyang City. This was because Fengyang City forbade such things from entering and could only leave them outside the city. However, a few people immediately recognized that Jinshin and the others were the young experts who had killed the 5 Earth Saint Masters outside the Heavenly Phoenix auction house. They were immediately shocked and looked at Jinshin's group with deep fear. Jinshin carried the coffin back to the inn very quickly. As soon as he entered the inn, the waiter was shocked to see the coffin on Jinshin's shoulder. With a sad face, he said, "Dear guest, why did you bring a coffin in? Our inn forbids such things. Otherwise, you will scare away our guests." Noticing the situation, even the shopkeeper personally hurried over. With a troubled expression, he said, "Dear guest, it's best if you put the coffin somewhere else. Our inn cannot store such things. Otherwise, how are other guests supposed to stay in the inn?" Mingdong walked up from behind and tossed a handful of purple coins to the innkeeper. He coldly said, "We've booked this inn. If you want to stay here, stay. If you don't want to stay, tell them to scram. Cut the crap and get out of the way." Mingdong's large handful of purple coins seemed to be around 100. It was enough to cover the income of the inn for several months. Seeing how Ming Dong had taken out such a large sum of money, the shopkeeper's frown immediately turned into a smile. He accepted the purple coins in a hurry and said, Of course. It's just a small matter. Isn't it just a coffin? It's no big deal. Dear guests, please come in." After the group disappeared down the stairs, the shopkeeper stood at the bottom of the stairs, holding a large pile of purple coins with both hands as he secretly laughed. He murmured, "These young masters sure are generous. Over 100 purple coins is equivalent to several months of Mayan's income. We made a huge profit. We've really made a huge profit this time." At this moment, a mercenary who was eating nearby said to the shopkeeper, "Shopkeeper, you really are fearless because you don't know anything. How dare you accept their money? Do you know who they are?" "Of course I know. They must be the young masters of some large clan. Otherwise, how could they have so much money?" The shopkeeper subconsciously replied, "Let me tell you, those youngsters are the ones who personally killed the leaders of the 3 great clans outside the Heavenly Phoenix auction house. Even the 2 Earth Saint Masters from the Harito clan were killed by them," said the young man. The mercenary said. Hearing this, the shopkeeper turned pale with fright. "What? They were the ones who killed the leaders of the 3 large clans of Fengyang City?" The mercenary nodded with certainty and said, "That's right. And the young man who gave you the money is a peak Earth Saint Master. He's only a step away from becoming a Heaven Saint Master." The shopkeeper's legs went soft, and he was so scared that he fell to the ground. He muttered with a pale face, "Oh my God, I actually dared to take their money and let them put the things outside. I am tired of living." Jinshin's group stayed in the inn for a day. A day later, a group of people all riding class 4 magical beasts arrived at Fengyang City. There were around 50 people in total, and they all wore the same black robes. When the soldiers guarding the city saw that all of them were riding class 4 magical beasts, they didn't dare to stop them at all. They didn't even interrogate them before opening the city gates, allowing them to enter the city without a hitch. This group of 50 people ran through the streets of Fengyang City with lightning speed. Finally, they stopped in front of an inn. The person at the front immediately dismounted and walked into the inn with a majestic gait. He directly went to the place where Jianshan was resting to meet with Jianshan. "Greetings to Sir Imperial Protector." The person bowed in front of Jianshan and respectfully said. Jianshan looked at the young man in black robes and smiled faintly. "Qin Wujian, you've come quite quickly. Sir Imperial Protector has given the order." This subordinate didn't dare to hesitate and immediately rushed over with a small group of elites. The person in black robes replied. He was Qin Wujian, who had rushed over from the kingdom of Jessen. Chapter 579. Not long after, a large carriage stopped outside the inn. From the color and luster of the carriage, it was not difficult to tell that it was a brand new carriage. The decoration was very beautiful, and it was filled with fresh flowers, as if it was a very luxurious flower carriage. After that, Jianshan personally carried Aunt Bai Yunhai's coffin out of the inn, accompanied by Bai Yuntian and the others. Then, he gently placed the coffin on the carriage. The 2 Class 1 magical beasts that were originally used to pull the carriage had been replaced by 9 Class 4 magical beasts. The ostentation could be said to be very grand. At least in Fengyang City, the scene of a Class 4 magical beast pulling a carriage had never happened before. After everything was set up, everyone did not stay in Fengyang City for a moment longer. They slowly drove the carriage out of the city. Everyone chose to walk on foot. The 50 Eastern Deity Sword Legion's elite team that rode over on rank 4 magical beasts all held onto their mounts. They were like loyal and devoted guards as they guarded the carriage on both sides. They slowly walked on foot, causing passers-by to stop and watch one after another and talk about it. Such a grand spectacle was unprecedented in the history of Fengyang City, and it greatly surprised the mercenaries and caravans in front of them. Then, they hurriedly drove the carriage to an empty space on both sides of the street. They knew in their hearts that the person who was able to use 9 Class 4 magical beasts to pull the carriage must have a very high status, and was not someone they could afford to offend. The funeral procession directly left Fengyang City. Because the procession was dragging a carriage, they could not travel too quickly, and were completely walking towards the kingdom of Jessen. The Yin family's patriarch, Jianshun, did not let them go either. He handed them over to an elite soldier to escort them, and they left together with the funeral procession. With such a slow speed, Jianxin and the others walked for a full 7 days before they finally returned to Lore City in the kingdom of Jessen. For Jianshun, Ming Dong, and the 50 elites, walking for 7 days was naturally nothing. However, the 2 weak women, Bai Yuntian and Yun Lian, couldn't bear it. Halfway through the journey, they rode on Class 4 magical beast mounts. The 2 of them looked haggard and exhausted. After returning to Changyang Prefecture, Bai Yuntian couldn't care less about his exhausted body. He immediately found the deputy housekeeper of Changyang Prefecture and asked the deputy housekeeper to arrange a grand funeral for Bai Yunhai. However, after hearing this, the assistant steward did not immediately take action. Instead, he hesitated and said, "Fourth madam, Changyang Prefecture has just been established, and now we are holding a funeral. Furthermore, it is for an outsider. I'm afraid this is somewhat inappropriate. The elders in the family will most likely not agree." Bai Yuntian's face darkened. She shouted, "What outsider? That's my sister. Deputy Housekeeper Sue, go arrange it immediately." The deputy housekeeper was in a difficult position. Changyang Prefecture was not some second or third-rate small family. It was a prestigious family in the kingdom of Jessen. The deputy housekeeper would indeed feel that it was inappropriate to arrange a grand funeral for an outsider. "Didn't you hear what my mother said? What's wrong with arranging a funeral for my aunt in the manor? Hurry up and do it." Jianxin walked in from outside and glared at the deputy housekeeper. Seeing that Jianxin was angry, the deputy housekeeper's heart trembled. He panicked and said, "Ah, it's the 4th young master. 4th young master, please calm down. Your servant will arrange the funeral right away." Since Jianxin had spoken, the deputy housekeeper did not dare to say anything against him. This was because he knew that in Changyang Prefecture, Jianxin's status was supreme. The honor and status of Changyang Prefecture were all brought by him alone. Once Jianxin had spoken, none of the elders in Changyang Prefecture dared to object. Although they were dissatisfied, they did not dare to say anything. Under the full efforts of Deputy Housekeeper Su, all the guards and servants in Changyang Prefecture began to move. They went to the market as fast as they could to buy the necessities for the funeral and began to arrange them in the manor. Later, even the chief housekeeper, Chang Bo, personally participated and gave advice. With the combined efforts of hundreds of people in Changyang Prefecture, it took only half a day to complete the arrangements. Then, Bai Yuntian's coffin was placed at the front, surrounded by flowers. It was a sea of flowers. Above the coffin hung a portrait drawn by Bai Lian. It was the mother she had seen when she was young. That was a very beautiful lady, and the portrait was very lifelike. Upon closer inspection, there were some similarities with Jianxin's mother, Bai Yuntian. The only flaw was that the woman in the portrait had a hideous scar on her face. Once all the preparations were complete, the grand funeral was officially held in Changyang Prefecture. However, the fact that Changyang Prefecture suddenly held a funeral for no reason surprised and confused everyone in Lore City. At the same time, it caused a great uproar in the city. Very soon, the city lord and important figures of the 3 other clans all paid a visit to see what was going on. At the same time, a few other clans and organizations in Lore City all paid a visit. At the same time, they volunteered to participate in the funeral, lending their meager strength. On the second day of the funeral, the king of the kingdom of Jessen and the commander of the Imperial Guards, Bai Dao, arrived in Lore City with 500 black-armored soldiers. Even the principal of Kargath Academy, Kafir, was alarmed, hurrying over from the academy. Changyang Prefecture's status in the kingdom of Jessen was extremely special. The future of the kingdom of Jessen completely depended on Changyang Prefecture, so the sudden grand funeral in Changyang Prefecture had given them quite a fright. They all worried that someone important had passed away, which was why the king of the kingdom of Jessen and Kafir had hurried over in such a hurry. However, when they learned that the person who had passed away was Bai Yuntian's sister who had been separated from her for over 20 years, they all secretly sighed in relief. Only Bai Dao's heart was extremely heavy. The news of Chanyang Prefecture's grand funeral spread like wildfire. Many clans and organizations in the kingdom of Jessen caught wind of it, and all the important figures personally came over to express their sincerest consolation. Even the two great elders of the Huayuan sect personally came over. On one hand, they came to console the people of Chanyang Prefecture, but on the other hand, they also came to express their apologies for the matter with Jianshun a few years ago. On the other hand, they also offered great gifts. In short, the funeral for Bai Yunhai in Chanyang Prefecture was extremely grand. Not only did all the influential organizations in the Kingdom of Jessen come, even the king of the Kingdom of Jessen personally came. The funeral lasted for 7 whole days. Bai Yunhai's grave was not set in the wilderness. Instead, under Bai Yuntian's insistence, it was set in the backyard of Chanyang Prefecture. A piece of land with good feng shui was specially set aside for Bai Yunhai's burial, and an extremely luxurious tomb was constructed. After the funeral, the various organizations that had come to offer their condolences all returned. Only Bai Dao remained behind. He stood tall like a tree, silently standing before Bai Yunhai's tombstone for 3 whole days. He did not move at all. His face was filled with pain. Bai Dao and Bai Yuntian were siblings from the same father and mother. Their father and Bai Yunhai's father were brothers from the same father. Not only did the two of them share the purest blood relationship with Bai Yunhai, they were also his closest childhood playmates. Sister Yunhai, I never thought that you'd make it out alive and that you'd been living in a neighboring country all this time. Why couldn't I have received news of you earlier? If I had, the 3 of us would have been reunited, and we wouldn't be separated like this. Bai Dao stared at the tombstone in front of him in sorrow as he softly murmured. Bai Yuntian pulled Bai Lian over. Brother, this is Sister Yunhai's daughter. She's called Bai Lian. Lian, this is your uncle. Bai Lian looked at the black-armored Bai Dao and obediently called out, Uncle. Bai Dao finally shifted his gaze away from the tombstone. He stared at the 18-year-old Bai Lian with mixed feelings. A while later, he let out a long sigh. Sister Yunhai may have left us, but she left her daughter behind. Bai Lian, don't worry. Uncle will protect you well in the future. Tears flowed from Bai Lian's eyes. At that moment, she felt like she already had a warm family. There were seniors who cared for her everywhere. It was completely different from the days she spent in the Yun family. Bai Dao's gaze landed on Bai Hai's tombstone again. He heavily said, Where's the murderer of Sister Bai Hai? He's locked up in the woodshed. I don't want him to die so easily, so I haven't executed him yet. The person who spoke was Jianshin. The poison in the patriarch of the Yun family had already been removed by the antidote he had obtained from Bai Lian, so he had not died from the poison. Bai Dao turned around and made his way to the woodshed. Jianshin hesitated slightly as he watched Bai Dao leave. He said, Uncle, don't let him die so easily. I know, Bai Dao replied without even looking back. He disappeared from Jianshin's sight very quickly. Soon after, a series of chilling cries rang out from Chanyang Prefecture. The cries were filled with pain. It was possible to imagine what kind of torture the owner of the cries was enduring. In the private room, half a month had already passed. The matter of the Chanyang clan's funeral had already calmed down, and everyone had forgotten about it. Bai Yuntian and Yunlian's grief had been reduced by a lot as well. But even with that being the case, it was still very difficult to see a smile on their faces. Bai Dao had also remained in Chanyang Prefecture for half a month. He hated the person who had killed his sister to the core, so he used the cruelest methods to make the patriarch of the Yun family suffer hellish torture every day. He used all the torture he knew on the patriarch several times before finally torturing him to death. Afterward, he tossed his corpse into the wild to feed wild beasts. It could be described as the most painful torture in the world. With the death of the patriarch of the Yun family, Bai Yunhai's vengeance was basically resolved. Bai Dao did not stay in Chanyang Prefecture for long either. He left Chanyang Prefecture the next day and headed for the Imperial Palace. Jianshin gathered everyone together after Bai Dao's departure. He bid farewell to his parents and the people of Chanyang Prefecture. He planned on leaving Chanyang Prefecture to continue developing the Flame Mercenaries. "Brother, let me go with you." Bai Lian suddenly arrived before Jianshan and looked at Jianshan hopefully. Chapter 580. Jianshan looked at Bai Lian in surprise and said, "Bai Lian, we'll probably encounter many dangerous and intense scenes of slaughter along the way. It'll be very difficult for a girl like you to adapt." After spending the past few days together, Jianshan had already accepted her identity as a sister. "Lian, the Tianyuan continent is extremely dangerous. It's not safe there, so it's not suitable for a girl like you to wander around. It's best if you stay in Chanyang Prefecture. No one will dare to bully you there," Bai Yuntian advised. Bai Lian shook her head and begged, "Annie, I don't like staying in Chanyang Prefecture all the time. I've rarely ventured out in the past few years, so I've always wanted to experience life on the continent. Brother, take me with you." Jianshan hesitated for a while before agreeing to Bai Lian's suggestion in the end. He nodded, "All right, come with us. You can experience the environment of the Tianyuan continent. It might be of some help to you. You haven't even condensed a saint weapon yet, so I'll be able to give you some pointers when I'm with you. It'll be much better than staying in Chanyang Prefecture." Bai Yintian knew that she could no longer keep her niece after hearing what Jianshan had said. All she could do was remind Jianshan, "Xiang you have to take good care of your sister in the future. She's just too weak right now, so you can't let anything happen to her." "Mother, don't worry. I'll definitely protect Bai Lian," Jianshan said firmly. Jianshan said firmly. He had suddenly gained a younger sister, which made Jianshan experience what it was like to be a big brother. At the same time, he felt like he had gained another responsibility, which was to protect his younger sister. Jianshan and Bai Lian bid farewell to everyone in Chanyang Prefecture before setting off on their journey to the Blue Wind Kingdom again. 2 days later, Jianshan and the others had already entered the territory of the Blue Wind Kingdom. After half a day's long journey, they finally entered a first-class city called Cloud City. If Jianshan's group were to walk around Wake City on their Class 3 magical beast mounts, they would have attracted a lot of attention. But now that they were in Cloud City, they were incomparably ordinary. A first-class city was much more prosperous and powerful than a second-class city. As a first-class city, although the streets of Cloud City were not filled with people riding Class 3 magical beast mounts, it was still very easy to see them. One could even occasionally see a Class 4 magical beast mount. Moreover, the strength of the mercenaries walking on the streets was generally around the Saint Master level, and great Saint Masters could be found everywhere. Their overall strength was much stronger than that of Phoenix Sun City, and the two could not be compared at all. Jianshan's group found an inn to stay in while Jianshan and Dugu Feng went out to scout for information. As for Tai Ta, he was called out by Jianshan in hopes that Tai Ta would quickly learn the rules of survival in the outside world. After Ming Dong's group left, only Jianshan, Yu, and Bai Lian remained in the inn. At this moment, the three of them were sitting on the first floor of the inn, slowly eating after ordering some delicacies. They tasted all sorts of delicacies while listening to the conversations of the other mercenaries in the inn, hoping to hear some useful information from them. However, after listening for half a day, Jianshan didn't gain anything at all. These mercenaries were talking about where they were going to get rich today, where they were going to get rich tomorrow, where they were going to get rich tomorrow, where they were going to get rich tomorrow, or where they killed a few powerful magical beasts, and how many monster cores they obtained, and so on. There were even some mercenaries who talked about the prostitutes in the brothels without any fear. Ming Dong's group of 3 quickly returned and sat down in a circle. Ming Dong said to Jianshan in a low voice, "Brother, I've already found out. However, the powers in Cloud City are a bit more complicated. It's not as clear as Phoenix Sun City." With that, Ming Dong paused and poured himself a cup of wine. After downing it all in one gulp, he continued, "On the surface, there are 6 powers in Cloud City. They're split into 4 clans and 2 sections. These 6 powers are the strongest in Cloud City on the surface, and they're extremely close. The 6 powers have formed a marriage alliance, and after over 100 years of development, I think the 6 of them have almost become one family. Their bloodlines are extremely chaotic. Other than the 6 great organizations, There are quite a few clans and mercenary groups in the city that aren't any weaker than the 6 great organizations. They all have Earth Saint Masters, but they're not as famous as the 6 great organizations. I've also observed that there are a few smaller clans that also have Earth Saint Masters, said Jian Wuxuan. Other than the clans, what are the strongest mercenary groups in Cloud City? Jianshan asked. There are a total of 4 that are on the surface. They're the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group, the Blood Rose Mercenary Group, the Beast Mercenary Group, and the Carnage Mercenary Group. Among them, the relationship between the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group and the Blood Rose Mercenary Group is very interesting. It's said that the captain of the Blood Rose Mercenary Group is an extremely beautiful and ruthless woman. The captain of the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group is deeply in love with the captain of the Blood Rose Mercenary Group and has been pursuing her for 10 years. Although the two of them haven't become lovers yet, their relationship is extremely complicated. I don't know the specifics, but we can consider the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group and the Blood Rose Mercenary Group to be the same power. The third mercenary group, the Beast Mercenary Group, can't be underestimated either. It's also a large mercenary group with a great reputation in Cloud City. However, it's said that the captain of the Beast Mercenary Group and the City Lord of Cloud City are sworn brothers. They're as close as brothers. In Cloud City, all the powers have to give the Beast Mercenary Group some face. As for the last mercenary group, the Carnage Mercenary Group, it's said that they're not a local power of Cloud City. Instead, they're a wandering mercenary group. Ever since they came to Cloud City 5 years ago, they've never left. However, the Carnage Mercenary Group is very powerful. Although they don't have a lot of people, only around 300, every single one of them is an elite. It's said that the weakest person in the group is a Saint Master, and there are over 50 great Saint Masters. The captain and 2 vice captains are all Earth Saint Masters. They're the only power in Cloud City that has 3 Earth Saint Masters. They completely surpass the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group and the Blood Rose Mercenary Group. They're so powerful that all the powers in Cloud City fear them. Even the City Lord fears them. However, the Carnage Mercenary Group keeps an extremely low profile in Cloud City. The 3 of us spent a lot of effort to find out all this information. I've also heard that the Carnage Mercenary Group rarely goes out in the past 5 years. All the members basically hole up in their courtyards and don't come out at all. They don't have any source of income, and they don't have any businesses in Cloud City either. They're extremely mysterious. The Carnage Mercenary Group. Jianshan softly murmured as he pondered. From Ming Dong's introduction of the Carnage Mercenary Group, he also felt that this mercenary group was rather mysterious. Brother, this Carnage Mercenary Group might not be so simple. They don't come out at all. Are they hiding in their rooms to cultivate? Or do they have some great enemies outside and are afraid of being discovered? Balian's bright eyes blinked as she stared at Jianshan's handsome face. A trace of admiration flashed through the depths of her eyes. Jianshan thought for a while and said, "It's hard to say right now. Ming Dong, where do the Carnage Mercenary Group live?" "It's not far from us. Follow this street and you'll reach it after walking for around 10 kilometers. They bought a large courtyard there. There are over 300 people in the Carnage Mercenary Group, and they all live there," Ming Dong said. Jianshan slowly closed his eyes and extended the senses of his soul in the direction that Ming Dong had mentioned. Very soon, he found the large courtyard where the Carnage mercenaries resided. He observed everything that happened in the courtyard. Balian's guess was correct. There were over 300 people in the Carnage Mercenary Group, and almost all of them were cultivating in their rooms. Every single one of them held a Class 3 or 4 monster core. They were extremely wealthy. Only a dozen or so people were scattered around the courtyard, responsible for keeping watch. There really were 3 Earth Saint Masters in the rather large courtyard at the center of the courtyard. Without any exception, they were all cultivating diligently. Jianshan slowly opened his eyes and murmured, "The Carnage Mercenary Group really isn't as simple as we thought. If we're talking about individual forces, the Carnage Mercenary Group is without a doubt the strongest in Cloud Capital." "Jianshan, do you think we should subdue the Carnage Mercenary Group first?" Ming Dong suggested. "The Carnage Mercenary Group is quite mysterious. In my opinion, We should investigate the background of the Carnage Mercenary Group. Perhaps there is a powerful force behind the Carnage Mercenary Group. Dugu Feng expressed his opinion. Ming Dong frowned slightly and said, "The Carnage Mercenary Group keeps far too low a profile. They may have stayed in Cloud Capital for 5 years, but there's extremely little information about them. We spent a tremendous amount of effort just to find out what's on the surface, let alone investigate their background. I think only the large clans in Cloud Capital know a little about them. However, we're not familiar with them, so it'll be extremely difficult to get this information from them. All right, let's not talk about it anymore. The Carnage Mercenary Group is indeed strange, but no matter what, we should still pay them a visit and find a chance to investigate their background," Jinshin said. Chapter 581. 15 minutes later, the group arrived at the Carnage Mercenary Group's residence. Although the Carnage Mercenary Group's residence wasn't small, the facade wasn't maintained properly. The simple and old door was tightly shut and covered in a thick layer of dust. It was obvious that it hadn't been cleaned for a long time. In front of the door, a few faint footprints could be seen. Jinshin examined the courtyard and laughed softly. I wonder if the Carnage Mercenary Group is too lazy to take care of this, or if they're just too lazy. They've actually let their front door get so dirty. They really are different from the rest. It looks like the Carnage Mercenary Group is much more low-key than I imagined. If other clans had a force as powerful as the Carnage Mercenary Group, they would probably have decorated their front door beautifully long ago. It wouldn't be like this at all. Ming Dong also sighed in amazement. "Let's go in and take a look," said Jinshin. Jinshin's group dismounted from their mounts and walked towards the courtyard. Dugu Feng quickened his steps and was the first to arrive at the door. He extended his hand and patted the heavy door. Soon after, the tightly shut door of the Carnage Mercenary Group opened and revealed the face of a middle-aged man around 40 years old. The middle-aged man was bald, and his gaze was extremely sharp. There was a vicious scar on his forehead, which made him seem even more ferocious. The middle-aged man suspiciously glanced at the young women standing outside the door and asked coldly, "Who are you?" "We're from a flame mercenary group. We've specially come to visit you today," said Jinshin. He cupped his hands with a smile. His movements were calm and natural. "The flame mercenary group?" The bald, middle-aged man murmured softly. He frowned slightly because this name was far too unfamiliar to him. There wasn't a force called the Flame Mercenary Group among the major forces in Cloud Capital. The bald, middle-aged man sized up Jinshin's group again before his face sank. "Our Carnage Mercenary Group has important matters to attend to during this period of time. It's inconvenient for us to receive guests. Please return." With that, the middle-aged man retracted his head and tried to close the heavy door. However, no matter how hard he tried, the door wouldn't budge at all. Dugu Feng's hand was casually placed on the door, preventing the bald, middle-aged man from closing the door. The bald, middle-aged man's face sank when he saw this. His gaze immediately became sharp as he asked, "Sir, what is the meaning of this?" Jinshin smiled. "Is this how the Carnage Mercenary Group turns away guests?" With that, Jinshin walked forward and pushed open the two heavy doors, entering the Carnage Mercenary Group's courtyard. The bald, middle-aged man's face changed. He immediately stood in front of Jinshin and growled, "Sir, this is the territory of the Carnage Mercenary Group. If you dare to act recklessly again, don't blame us for being rude." The bald, middle-aged man's voice was extremely loud, attracting the attention of the people guarding the surroundings. Immediately, over 20 people quickly gathered from all directions. They all glared at Jinshin's group. Their faces were filled with killing intent. They were extremely unfriendly towards Jinshin's group. Both Ming Dong and Dugu Feng revealed a hint of disdain when they saw the 20 or so ferocious-looking burly men before them. "The captain of our Flame Mercenary Group has personally come to visit your Carnage Mercenary Group. We've already given you enough face. Not only do you not appreciate it, but you've even turned us away. Is this how the Carnage Mercenary Group treats its guests? Go call your captain out," Ming Dong sneered. Ming Dong sneered. His presence as an Earth Saint Master completely erupted as well. A powerful pressure enveloped the entire courtyard, alarming all the people in the Carnage Mercenaries. They immediately emerged from their rooms and quickly gathered at the entrance. Ha ha ha! Our Carnage mercenary group obviously welcomes esteemed guests. It was our subordinates who didn't know any better before, so please don't take it to heart. Please forgive us if we've neglected you in any way. Suddenly, a clear laugh rang out from the front. 3 people in luxurious robes walked out from the central hall. The person who had spoken was the middle-aged man in the center. The middle-aged man seemed to be in his 40s and was extremely handsome. His facial features were regular, his skin was white, and his eyebrows were sharp. His eyes shone brightly from time to time. He wore a smile on his face and was extremely gentle. He seemed very amiable, making people develop a good impression of him unknowingly. The person walking on the left of the middle-aged man was still a burly man about the same age as him. Although the burly man was wearing a luxurious white robe and had a noble temperament, the wild nature that seemed to come from his body could not be concealed. His dressing made him look more like a wolf in sheep's clothing, which was somewhat out of place. Walking on the right side of the middle-aged man was an old man in his 70s. His face was full of wrinkles, and more than half of his white hair had fallen off. Only a few strands of withered hair remained on his head. He looked like an old man who was about to be buried at any time. Although that was the case, the old man's eyes shone brightly. They were extremely deep and seemed to be shrouded in a layer of mist, making it very difficult for people to see anything from his eyes. Captain! Captain! Greetings to the captain and the 2 vice captains. More than 20 members of the Carnage mercenary group who were crowding at the gate saluted the middle-aged man who was walking in the middle. Their eyes were filled with respect. The middle-aged man stopped in front of Jianshan. His gaze first paused on Ming Dong and Dugu Feng, who were a body length behind Jianshan, before finally landing on Jianshan at the very front. He clasped his hands and smiled. I am the captain of the Carnage mercenaries, Jianshan. The 2 beside me are the 2 vice captains of the Carnage mercenaries. They are Shan Xiong and Mu Qi. Jianshan quickly sized up the 3 people in front of him before clasping his hands and replying, I am Jianshan, the captain of the Flame mercenaries. This is Ming Dong, the vice captain and elder of the Flame mercenaries, Dugu Feng. When he heard Jianshan's name, Warsky suddenly felt that the name was somewhat familiar, as if he had heard it somewhere before. However, he couldn't recall where he had heard it, but he was too busy greeting the guests to think about it. He hurriedly invited Jianshan's group in with a smile. Haha, esteemed guests, please come in. Let's talk inside. Jianshan's group was warmly invited into the hall by Warsky. The decorations of the hall were very simple. It didn't have the luxurious decorations of a large organization at all. Jianshan and Warsky chatted casually for a while before getting to the main topic. Sir Warsky, I see that your Carnage mercenary group is hiding in your rooms and absorbing the energy from the monster cores to cultivate. You rarely come out, so I think that Sir Warsky must be from some large family or organization, Jianshan said without any hesitation. His face was calm and unperturbed. Warsky wasn't surprised by Jianshan's words at all. The Carnage mercenaries had already occupied Yunda City for 5 whole years. Their internal secrets were already public secrets to the large organizations in Yunda City. Haha, little brother Jianshan must be joking. Our Carnage mercenaries is only a small mercenary group. We rely on ourselves for everything. How could we have the support of a large organization? Although he said that, Warsky's expression was filled with sorrow and pain. There's also a hint of desolation mixed in. Jianshan's heart skipped a beat when he saw Warsky's expression. He immediately guessed that Warsky probably belonged to an organization that had lost its power. He had no intention of relying on anyone right now and was completely independent. Jianshan immediately became rather happy when he thought of that. He said, Sir Warsky, I wouldn't have come here for no reason. I've come this time mainly to discuss something with Sir Warsky. Warsky immediately became serious as soon as Jianshan was mentioned. He stared at Jianshan in interest, waiting for him to continue. Jianshan continued, Sir Warsky, you must know the rules of survival on the Tianyuan continent extremely well. In a world where the strong prey on the weak, only those with great strength can obtain better things. However, developing an organization isn't as simple as it sounds. There's still a very long path ahead, and there will be many obstacles along the way. If you're careless, you'll be doomed. I've actually come this time to ask Sir Warsky to join our flame mercenaries. We can work together to develop our organization and strengthen our own group. What do you think? The three of them were all surprised when they heard that. They stared at Jianshun in shock. None of them had thought that the captain of the flame mercenaries, Jianshun, would visit them with such intentions. Soon after, the three of them returned to their senses. Warsky and the old man, Mu Qi, sat there calmly, but Shan Xiong was not as well-mannered as the two of them. His face was immediately filled with anger as he glared at Jianshun. It was an extremely shocking sight. Chapter 582. Jianshun faintly smiled. He did not refute Shan Xiong's words and said, I believe the three of you understand that it's impossible to become a large organization on the Tianyuan continent without great strength and backing. Although your Carnage mercenary group can be considered as a hegemon in Cloud Capital right now, you can only barely maintain your status because there are quite a few clans and sects in Cloud Capital that are on par with you, especially the 6 great clans. Although they're divided into 6 clans, they're as close as brothers and sisters. They can work together at any time. Once the 6 of them work together, there won't be a single organization in Cloud Capital that can contend against them. Warsky and Mu Qi did not say anything when they heard Jianshun's words. Instead, they seemed to be in deep thought. Shan Xiong seemed to find Jianshun's words reasonable, so he fell silent for a moment as well. However, unconcealable anger remained on his face. Brother Jianshun, I admit that what you said is very reasonable. Although our Carnage mercenary group seems very impressive in Cloud Capital and is one of the largest mercenary groups in the city, we still fear the 6 great clans very much. Once they work together, there really won't be a single organization in Cloud Capital that can contend against them. However, the 6 great clans aren't the only ones in Cloud Capital. Aside from us, there are quite a few other powerful organizations in Cloud Capital as well. If the 6 great clans really do work together against us, we won't just sit around and wait for death. We'll definitely work together to contend against them, Warsky said calmly. His expression remained the same. He did not show any displeasure at Jianshun's request for the Carnage mercenary group to submit. This was because Warsky had already noticed that Jianshun and the others were not ordinary people. Although he was unable to sense Jianshun's strength, he could clearly see Ming Dong and Dugu Feng, who did not conceal their presences. However, the 2 Earth Saint Masters were currently sitting to one side, silently like subordinates, which emphasized Jianshun's identity and status even more. Warsky needed to treat him carefully and cautiously. Sir Warsky, what you said is not without reason. However, this is only enough to protect your Carnage mercenary group's position in Cloud Capital. Does your Carnage mercenary group plan to stay in this small city and not expand to the outside world? Jianshun smiled faintly. Kid, you sure are ambitious. Who doesn't want to expand their forces to the outside world? However, expanding to the outside world isn't as simple as just saying. Without the power to dominate a region, even the most basic self-preservation will be difficult. Does your Flame mercenary group have the ability to do that? Shan Xiong sneered. Jianshun nodded in a rather conceited manner. That's right. Our Flame mercenary group does have the ability to do that. How arrogant! Shan Xiong sneered. Warsky's heart skipped a beat. He glanced at Jianshun deeply and thought about it for a while before saying, In this world, the strong are respected. This is a stage for the strong. The weak can only become food for the strong. I understand this rule very well. Warsky paused. He stared closely at Jianshun and said sternly, Little brother Jianshun, it won't be easy for our Carnage mercenary group to join your Flame mercenary group. Can you let us know the organization and background of the Flame mercenary group, as well as the direction of your future development? Jianshun smiled triumphantly when he heard that. He knew that Warsky had already given in. As long as his side was strong enough, he could easily subdue the Carnage mercenary group. The progress of the matter was much easier than he had imagined. Shan Xiong also understood the meaning behind Warsky's words. He could not help but panic Captain, Warsky stopped Shan Xiong from continuing. Shan Xiong, there's no need for you to say anything more. I've already made my decision. Shan Xiong clenched his teeth, but he still closed his mouth in the end. He sat there quietly without saying anything. Jinshan smiled. Sir Warsky, the current scale of our flame mercenary group is probably not enough to catch your attention. At the same time, we don't have any powerful backing, so we're completely relying on the few of us. However, it won't be long before we become the greatest organization in the Blue Wind Kingdom, or even the entire region. Warsky frowned slightly. Out of all the kingdoms in this region, Chanyang Prefecture of the Kingdom of Jessen is probably the greatest organization. No one dares to provoke them. Does little brother Jinshan have the confidence to surpass the current Chanyang Prefecture? Let's not talk about Chanyang Prefecture. Let's talk about the peak organizations in the Blue Wind Kingdom. They all have Heaven's Saint Masters. Does the Flame Mercenary Group have the ability to deal with these peak organizations? I think the peak organizations in the Blue Wind Kingdom will definitely not allow you to grow stronger. Jinshan smiled in disdain. Don't worry. If the peak organizations in the Blue Wind Kingdom really do come looking for trouble with us, we'll make sure they don't return even if they have Heaven's Saint Masters. As for Chanyang Prefecture in the Kingdom of Jessen, Sir Warsky doesn't need to worry at all because it's impossible for us to come into conflict with Chanyang Prefecture. A gleam of light flashed through Warsky's eyes. Do you come from the Kingdom of Jessen? And do you have a special relationship with Chanyang Prefecture? With that, Warsky seemed to think of something. His eyes suddenly narrowed, and he immediately looked at the silent Ming Dong. He asked in shock, Ming Dong? You're called Ming Dong? Are you that Ming Dong from the Kingdom of Jessen who used a Heaven-tier battle skill to heavily injure a Heaven Saint Master? Ming Dong grinned. That's right. That's me. I never thought that Captain Warsky would know my nickname. I'm really flattered. Warsky, Mu Qi, and Shan Xiong all gasped at the same time after Ming Dong's identity was confirmed. They looked at each other, and their faces were filled with shock. Afterward, their gazes toward Ming Dong completely changed. This was because they knew that the person before them, who did not seem to be older than 30, was a 6-cycle Earth Saint Master. His extreme speed was something that even Heaven Saint Masters could do nothing about. At the same time, he possessed a Heaven-tier battle skill that countless experts coveted. He had once heavily injured a Heaven Saint Master in the northern fortress of the Kingdom of Jessen with a Heaven-tier battle skill. If the Heaven Saint Master had not been saved by his companions, he probably would have been the first person to die to an Earth Saint Master on the Tian Yuan continent. I never thought that you would be that Ming Dong who heavily injured a Heaven Saint Master. How disrespectful. Captain Jinshin must not have used his real name. If old man has guessed correctly, Captain Jinshin is the Imperial Protector of the Kingdom of Jessen, the 4th young master of the Chanyang Prefecture, Chanyang Shoten, said Mu Qi. His gaze toward Jinshin was filled with amazement. Jinshin did not deny it. He smiled. Old sir, you're extremely intelligent. I never thought that you would be able to guess that. You've earned my admiration. Mu Qi chuckled. Who doesn't know about the 4th young master's name now? Who doesn't know about him? Moreover, there have been rumors in the outside world that he has an extremely close relationship with the 4th young master of the Chanyang Prefecture after heavily injuring a Heaven Saint Master in the frontier fortress of the Kingdom of Jessen. He even stays in the Chanyang Prefecture for a long time. Yet now, he has suddenly become a member of the Flame Mercenaries and has even willingly taken on the role of vice captain. The captain is actually a young man who's only in his 20s. In the end, when you connect everything that the 4th young master said before, the conclusion is extremely clear. If old man still can't guess the 4th young master's identity, then he's far too ignorant. Jinshan laughed heartily. May I ask if you're willing to join our Flame Mercenaries? The 3 of them looked at each other. After a moment of hesitation, Warsky said, 4th young master, I have a few questions to ask you. Please speak, Jinshan said. May I ask if the Flame Mercenaries that the 4th young master has established belongs to the 4th young master or the Chanyang Prefecture? And who do you pledge your loyalty to? Warsky asked sternly. Jinshan replied, The Flame mercenaries aren't as complicated as you imagine them to be. They're completely under my control and have nothing to do with the Chanyang Prefecture or any other organization. You can think of the Flame mercenaries as an independent organization that doesn't pledge loyalty to any organization. After a moment of hesitation, Warsky said, "Fourth young master, our Carnage mercenaries can join your Flame mercenaries and become a part of the Flame mercenaries. But the fourth young master must guarantee that all the members of the Carnage mercenaries are under my control." "All right, I can promise you that the Carnage mercenaries will still be led by the three of you in the future. I won't interfere with your internal matters, but I hope that you can put the interests of the Flame mercenaries above all else and listen to the orders of the group." Jinshan agreed without any hesitation. "That's great. Since that's the case, let's join the Flame mercenaries. I believe that following the fourth young master is an extremely wise choice." Warsky laughed heartily. He was extremely happy. Although he knew that this was equivalent to submitting to the Flame mercenaries, he did not mind at all. Jinshan also felt extremely happy that he had managed to subdue the mysterious Carnage mercenaries so easily. He said, "Don't worry. In the near future, the Flame mercenaries will definitely shake up the entire continent." With the matter settled, Jinshan did not stay in the Carnage mercenaries for too long. He chatted with Warsky for a while and asked the three of them to come find him at the inn the next morning before leaving with Ming Dong and the others. After Jinshan had left, Shan Xiong said to Warsky reluctantly, "Captain, are we just going to submit to the Flame mercenaries like this?" Muqi let out a long sigh as he became dazed. He said, "Shan Xiong, forget about your former identity for now. Joining the Flame mercenaries might be an opportunity for us to restore our empire." Chapter 583. Subduing the Carnage mercenary group went much smoother than expected. On the way back, Jinshan and the others were very happy. The next morning, the three leaders of the Carnage mercenary group came to the inn where Jinshan was resting. They found Jinshan, and then Jinshan called Ming Dong and the others to discuss things. "Our next targets are the Bloodthorn mercenary group, the Blood Rose mercenary group, and the Beast mercenary group. These mercenary groups are the first to be subdued. The three of you have been in Cloud City for a long time, so you should be very familiar with them. Do you have any good plans?" Jinshan looked at Warsky and the others. The three of them pondered for a while, and Muqi said, "The Beast mercenary group has a close relationship with the City Lord of Cloud City. It will take some effort to subdue them, but the Blood Rose mercenary group and the Bloodthorn mercenary group is much easier. In my opinion, we should start with them first." "That's right. It is indeed much easier to subdue the Blood Rose mercenary group and the Bloodthorn mercenary group. The leader of the Bloodthorn mercenary group is infatuated with the leader of the Blood Rose mercenary group. If we want to subdue them, we should start with the Blood Rose mercenary group. As long as we subdue the Blood Rose mercenary group, then the Bloodthorn mercenary group will not be a problem." Warsky also expressed his opinion. Hearing the two's words, Jinshan thought that it was very reasonable and said, "In that case, let's subdue the Blood Rose mercenary group first. The three of you can come with me. We have some friendship with the leader of the Blood Rose mercenary group, Jasmine. This time, we can go and persuade her." Warsky said. After the discussion, Jinshan and the others left the inn together. They all rode their mounts and went straight to the location of the Blood Rose mercenary group. The Blood Rose mercenary group was more than 30 kilometers away from the inn where Jinshan and the others were staying. There was also a lot of people on the street. Jinshan and the others rode slowly on their magic beast mounts for the time it took to burn an incense stick to reach the Blood Rose mercenary group's location. The Blood Rose mercenary group and the Carnage mercenary group both lived in a large courtyard, but the environment was very different compared to the Carnage mercenary group. The entrance of the courtyard was not only clean, there was not even a speck of dust, but there were also 2 guards standing in front of the entrance. Because the 3 leaders of the Carnage mercenary group were in Jinshan's group, the guards did not dare to stop them at all. They did not even have the process of reporting. They were very courteously invited them in. At the same time, they sent people to inform the leader. At the same time, Jinshan and the others sat down in the main hall of the Blood Rose mercenary group quietly waiting for the captain. Not long after they sat down, a heroic girl came in from outside. Hee, Tian, Mu Chi, Shan Xiong. What wind blew you 3 busy people here today? The 3 of you have personally come to my Blood Rose mercenary group. Your presence really brings light to my small, humble dwelling. Hearing the voice, Jianshun looked over. He saw that the person who came was a middle-aged woman about 30 years old. She was graceful and luxurious. She was quite beautiful. She was wearing a dark green long skirt. Her dark green long hair was tied into a very beautiful bow at the back of her head. She looked even more capable. Leader Jasmine is too serious. We haven't seen each other for 2 years. Compared to 2 years ago, Leader Jasmine looks even more beautiful. Zhang Tian stood up and cupped his hands with a smile. Leader Jasmine smiled generously. Soon after, her gaze swept over Jianshun and the others and said, I wonder who these brothers are? Jianshun cupped his hands towards Leader Jasmine and said with a smile, This one is Jianshun, the leader of the Raging Flame mercenary group. Raging Flame mercenary group? Jasmine muttered in a low voice and said, Brother Jianshun shouldn't be someone from our cloud capital city, right? That's right. We are indeed not a force from cloud capital city. Jianshun did not deny it and continued, Leader Jasmine, the reason why we've come a visit this time is because our Raging Flame mercenary group has a matter to discuss with your esteemed group. Leader Jasmine directly walked to a table and sat down. She lazily stretched her body and said, Continue speaking. Don't stop halfway. Jianshun smiled and said, Then this one will be frank. Leader Jasmine, I want your Blood Rose mercenary group to join our Raging Flame mercenary group. As soon as Jianshun finished speaking, Jasmine's body immediately stiffened. Her originally calm gaze also suddenly became fierce as she stared closely at Jianshun. What did you say? Leader Jasmine said word by word with a serious expression. This one wants Leader Jasmine to lead the Blood Rose mercenary group to join our Raging Flame mercenary group and become a part of the Raging Flame mercenary group. Jianshun's expression was calm as he repeated what he had just said. Leader Jasmine stared fiercely at Jianshun for a while. From Jianshun's expression, she could already tell that the other party was not joking. She could not help but shake her head and say with a cold smile, Little brother, you can't make such a joke so casually. Jianshun chuckled and said, I'm not joking. Moreover, the Carnage mercenary group has already joined our Raging Flame mercenary group. If Leader Jasmine does not believe me, you can ask Warsky and the other 2. Leader Jasmine's expression changed. She immediately looked at the 3 of them, but all she received was a nod from them. Leader Jasmine was shocked. The Carnage mercenary group was the most powerful organization in the Cloud Capital. Just a single group possessed 3 Earth Saint Masters, yet they had suddenly joined an unknown mercenary group. She found this very hard to believe. How is that possible? Warsky, Mu Chi, Shan Xiong, has your Carnage mercenary group really joined the Raging Flame mercenary group? Leader Jasmine involuntarily cried out. That's right. We have indeed joined the Raging Flame mercenary group. This is not a lie. It's the truth. We believe that only by joining the Raging Flame mercenary group can we establish ourselves on the Tianyuan continent in the future and not hide in a tiny city like we are right now, Warsky calmly replied. Is the Raging Flame mercenary group really that powerful? Leader Jasmine asked. However, her gaze would sweep past Jianshun from time to time. Her eyes were filled with doubt. Jianshun smiled and said, Captain Jasmine, may I ask what level is the strongest battle skill you've mastered right now? Although Leader Jasmine was very confused by Jianshun's question, she still answered truthfully, 2 high human tier battle skills. Leader Jasmine, I'll tell you the first benefit of joining the Flame mercenary group. As long as you're an Earth Saint Master, we'll teach you a basic Earth tier battle skill for free, Jianshun smiled. Leader Jasmine's eyes lit up when she heard that. Her gaze burned with desire. Earth tier battle skills were rare in the Blue Wind Kingdom. Currently, only a few peak organizations possessed Earth tier battle skills. It was not just her. Even the hearts of the 3 of them suddenly skipped a beat. Their breathing became ragged. However, Jianshun's following words shocked all of them. In the future, if there are people who have made great contributions to the group or are completely loyal to the group, I can teach them high-tier Earth-tier battle skills or even heaven-tier battle skills. Jinshin smiled. What? Heaven-tier battle skills? Do you possess a heaven-tier battle skill? Squad leader Jasmine lost her usual composure and cried out hoarsely. Her red phoenix eyes were wide open and her face was filled with shock. That's right, I do indeed possess a heaven-tier battle skill, and not just one. How about it, Captain Jasmine? Shouldn't you consider joining our Flame Mercenary Group? Once you join our Flame Mercenary Group, you'll be completely loyal and contribute greatly, and you'll be able to obtain a heaven-tier battle skill extremely easily. This is something that many people dream of. Jinshin smiled. Right now, he only wanted to quickly strengthen the Flame Mercenary Group. He would not be stingy with the core members of the Eternal Flame Mercenary Group. He would treat all of them equally. The allure of a heaven-tier battle skill was extremely great. Unless it was someone who had already grasped a heaven-tier battle skill, no one would be able to resist its allure. This time, Leader Jasmine only pondered for a short moment before agreeing to Jinshin's suggestion. She agreed to lead the Blood Rose Mercenary Group into the Flame Mercenary Group. After subduing the Blood Rose Mercenary Group, Jinshin, Jasmine, and Jean Tian discussed the details of the plan. They stayed until the afternoon before leaving. Jasmine, the leader of the Blood Rose Mercenary Group, also left with them. When they openly walked on the street on their magical beast mounts, they immediately caused quite a commotion. The three leaders of the Mysterious Carnage Mercenary Group and the leader of the Blood Rose Mercenary Group were actually walking together. Moreover, they were walking behind a young man at the same time. This was enough to make many people think that there was something going on, and this news quickly spread throughout Cloud Capital. However, Jinshin and the others didn't care about this at all. They rode their magical beast mounts directly to the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group's territory and subdued them. The leader of the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group was a forthright man called Hani. However, he was truly infatuated with the leader of the Blood Rose Mercenary Group, Jasmine. Even though Jasmine always treated him with indifference, his infatuation didn't diminish. When he learned that the Blood Rose Mercenary Group had already joined the Flame Mercenary Group, he didn't hesitate to lead all the members of the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group to join the Flame Mercenary Group. He only hoped that his relationship with Jasmine would improve further in the future. In short, subduing the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group was very easy. In less than 10 minutes, Jinshin had the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group join. He didn't even mention any enticing conditions. Now, the Carnage Mercenary Group, the Blood Rose Mercenary Group, and the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group in Cloud Capital had completely merged into one. They had changed their name to the Flame Mercenary Group, causing the Flame Mercenary Group's strength to increase by a lot in just 2 short days. This made Jinshin extremely happy. The Flame Mercenary Group had finally become powerful. However, there was no such thing as an absolute secret in the world. The news of the 3 mercenary groups joining together was quickly learned by the 6 great clans, the City Lord's estate, and a few other large organizations. Everyone immediately became nervous. With the 3 mercenary groups suddenly working together, there were a total of 5 Earth Saint Masters. Their strength was almost on par with the combined forces of the 6 great clans.